I'd seen enough real versus fake Heir dramas, so the first thing I did back home was I told my 4 sisters, who were all protecting the fake Heir. If you don't want me as your real brother, I don't want you as my sisters either. Since, in your hearts, Ryan is your only real brother, then he's the only brother you have. Keep him if you want. Just don't bother me again. That made the 4 Hayes daughters' faces change. Mr. Hayes and Chloe Hayes were angry and anxious. Seeing Chloe look so hurt, I sighed. You and Dad don't need to overthink this. Since I chose to come back, I do see you as my parents. But only you two. I'm not begging for anyone's love. I'm Greyhaven's honored young lord. People are the ones who flatter me. Since when do I swallow my pride and bend over backward for others? Since I took over Ethan Hayes's body. That makes this a karmic tie. Mr. Hayes and Chloe truly care for me, so of course I'll honor them and treat them as my own parents. As for everyone else, we'll see. In the silence, someone suddenly sobbed. Everyone at the table looked over. Ryan's eyes were red as he cried, "Mom, Dad, sisters, I'm sorry. This is all my fault. Please, little brother, don't blame our sisters." Before he could finish, I cut him off without mercy. Enough. Stop sobbing here. You think you're in a soap opera? If you want to act, fine. I don't have time to watch. What exactly do you want? I can leave and give you your happy family back. I made a move to get up and leave. My words made Ryan flush bright red. He couldn't get a word out. Ethan, what nonsense are you talking about? This is your real family. How can you just say you're leaving? Chloe rushed to speak and gripped my wrist tightly. Afraid I'd really walk out if I got upset. This will always be your home. Do whatever you like. No one in this family gets to judge you. Then she secretly glared at her daughters. Raising daughters really is payback. Mr. Hayes also shot the girls a hard glare. Exactly. This is your home. Anyone who dislikes you can get out. From now on, do whatever makes you comfortable. Let's see who dares object. Their attitude pleased me. At least they had their heads on straight. If they were muddled too, hurting their real son just to favor an adopted one, then I'd treat them only as so from now on. Ryan felt embarrassed, wronged, and hurt. He wished he could vanish on the spot, but he didn't have the nerve. He was no longer the Hayes family's young master. Now he was just an adopted son living under someone else's roof. That thought made him feel even worse. Chloe looked at Ryan and comforted him softly. Ryan, stop crying. Didn't we already talk about this? Ethan is Ethan and you're still you. There's no conflict between you two. Just stay here and relax. Ryan kept sobbing. I just feel so sorry to Ethan. I froze mid-bite. Are you ever done? You say you're sorry, but I don't see you leaving the Hayes home. Since you've chosen to stay, stop wearing that wounded face. It's honestly disgusting. And I'm not your real little brother. Call me by my name from now on. I knew exactly what Ryan was up to. He just wanted to look pitiful so everyone would pity and protect him. That cheap little trick was nothing. If he wanted to act, fine. But if he pushed his luck, then don't blame me for ignoring our parents' feelings. Ryan's face froze, as if he'd been slapped in public. His face went pale, then red, and he was about to explode. But he couldn't blow up in front of everyone. After I called him out so bluntly in public, playing hurt any longer would look too obvious. Ava Hayes was the youngest of the 4 sisters, and also the most short-tempered. Seeing this, she was about to defend Ryan. But Grace Hayes held her back. Grace looked at me across the table. Her eyes were full of curiosity. This brother really was different. Grace's eyes flickered. Welcome back home. Mom and Dad were absolutely right. From now on, this is your home. Do whatever makes you comfortable. Don't worry about anyone else's feelings. We really did slip up today. We thought you and Dad wouldn't get home so soon, so we went out. Please don't take it the wrong way. We're all actually very happy you're home. I glanced at her and said nothing. Seeing his eldest daughter speak up, Mr. Hayes finally looked a little more satisfied. He turned and told the maid to keep serving the food. They had told the kitchen to prepare a feast today. Every flavor was covered because they didn't know what I liked. Right, Dad? Where did Ethan live before? Where are his old family? How do we handle those ties? Grace suddenly seemed to remember something. She asked like it was casual, then noticed Mr. Hayes's face change. Grace picked up on it. Dad, why'd you go quiet? Is there something hard to say? We're all family now. Ethan's business is ours too. You don't need to keep hiding it. So much for eating in peace. If you want to know, just ask me. I picked up a napkin and dabbed my mouth. As a kid, I was taken in by an old Taoist priest. I lived in a rundown temple. It sat on a remote, barren mountain. Conditions were rough, with hardly any visitors or donations. My master and I barely stayed fed, so I never went to real school. He taught me to read at the temple. Growing up, I almost never left the mountain. My master passed away from old age 3 months ago. After that, I lived there alone. Then Dad finally found me recently and brought me here. After a short pause, I added, that temple is completely closed now. After all, I'm not there anymore. Of course, if I ever want to go back, I can still live there on my own. I summed up my past in a few words. My tone stayed calm the whole time. No complaints, no sob story, and no blaming fate. But Chloe and Mr. Hayes were heartbroken. Their eyes turned red. The four Hayes sisters froze, their feelings mixed. They never imagined that, while they knew nothing, their real brother, the true young master of the Hayes family, should have been cherished by everyone. Even Ava started to feel guilty. She felt her attitude earlier had gone too far. Ryan saw this and thought, this is bad. He decided I was deeply scheming. What I said just now was clearly on purpose. I was playing pitiful to win sympathy. By reflex, he wanted to apologize again. But he suddenly remembered my attitude. He swallowed the words and changed tack to a line he thought was clever. Ethan, now that you're home, life will only get better. You just got back, so of course you're not used to it. If anything feels unfamiliar, come to me anytime. I'll do everything I can to help. If you're okay with it, I can show you around. That'll help you settle in faster. Oh, sure. Thanks. Chloe gripped my hand tight as I said it. Her eyes were full of pain and guilt. Mom, I'm fine. My master and I had it pretty good. Life was hard, sure, but the temple was quiet and peaceful. My master loved me very much. I was actually happy growing up. What I said just now was true. The real Ethan really had been happy. All those years, temple life was far from easy, but his master truly loved him. He gave Ethan the best he could. Besides, there were barely any people there. The relationships around him were simple and pure. He lived freely every day. When he got lonely, he played with animals behind the mountain. Even alone, he had fun in the hills. His days were carefree. Ethan once said he never felt bitter. To him, real pain was his master falling terminally ill. His master was his only family in this world. His last emotional and spiritual anchor. It was his first taste of losing someone forever. After his master died, he stayed at the temple alone. He had no one to truly talk to. Every day was lonely and bleak. Half a month before Mr. Hayes found him, Ethan went to gather firewood and fell off a cliff. On that remote mountain, he was the only one there. No one knew he had fallen, so he died in silence. After death, his soul went straight to Grey Haven. And I happened to be back in the city on routine business. When I saw Ethan's soul, I found his fate unusual. Judging by his birth chart and features, he should have had a life of wealth and ease. A rare fate blessed with fortune and long life. That kind of fate comes from virtue built over many lives. Yet he had shown up in Grey Haven. That proved he had died an unnatural death. The fate meant for him had been altered by someone. And Grey Haven had just run into serious trouble. I needed to come to the mortal world myself. So I sought him out for a fair deal. I'd borrow Ethan's identity in the living world, and we'd each get what we needed. That's how I ended up at the Hayes home today. But they definitely didn't believe what I had just said. Especially Mr. Hayes and Chloe. They only felt their son was kind and considerate. They thought I said it just to comfort them. In their hearts, they ached for their poor son. He was born to be a pampered heir. Yet he suffered out there for over 10 years. They swore to make it up to their real son twice over. The table fell heavy because of what I said. Everyone had their own tangled thoughts. The four Hayes sisters stopped picking fights. They just lowered their heads and ate in silence. Mr. Hayes and Chloe focused only on me. Every so often, they gently asked if I liked the food. Ethan, which dish do you like best? Want Mom to get you some hot soup? They cared for me down to the last detail. Ryan sat nearby, unable to hide his loss. Ava tried several times to say something. But whenever her eyes landed on me, her real brother, she remembered what I'd said earlier. So she swallowed the words again. I only cared about tasting the feast. To the Hayes family, that looked like something else. Chloe watched me with tears in her eyes. Her heart ached beyond words. Clearly, back on the mountain, her son rarely got food this rich and good. After all, he lived in a remote, rundown temple. How hard life was there was easy to imagine. Just staying fed each day was already good. How could he ever taste delicacies like these? Chloe silently made up her mind. From now on, she'd cook me something new every day. After dinner, all the kids sat properly in the living room. Mr. Hayes called it bonding with his newly returned son. I sank into the wide leather couch in the center and stared eagerly at the huge TV in front of me. I watched the screen with real delight. Ethan, do you like watching TV? Chloe asked with a gentle smile. My eyes stayed glued to the TV as I nodded hard. This TV thing is so interesting. The pictures inside are way more fun than stage opera. I hadn't been in this bustling world for ages. I never thought it would change this much. I felt like a bumpkin fresh off the bus. Seeing me like that, Chloe's eyes reddened again. Her poor real son was already this grown. Yet he'd never even really watched TV. Just then, the show cut to commercials. Chloe immediately picked up the remote. Ethan, Mom will change the channel for you. That drama you were watching is done for today. Let's flip around and see what else is on. There are lots of fun shows. I nodded obediently, acting perfectly sweet and well-behaved. Chloe casually switched channels. The new channel was airing a family melodrama, so she set the remote down. But soon the whole family looked awkward, especially Ryan sitting nearby. His fair, delicate face flushed bright red. His eyes couldn't hide his shame and frustration. It was just that perfect a coincidence. The TV plot was another real versus fake heir story. Two babies had been swapped by accident, and today's episode was the real heir being found. Chloe stared at the screen, completely stunned. One random channel switch, and the plot matched our family perfectly. It was painfully awkward. In the show, the lead was brought home by his birth parents. The real son came home, but the adopted son stayed. They not only kept him, they spoiled him even more. They treated him better than their real son, like a treasure, while their real son was treated like dirt. An odd awkwardness instantly filled the living room. And I just had to comment, man, people these days, why ignore your own son and favor an adopted one? Sure, after raising him for years, it's normal to be attached. But you can't wrong your own child. I kept shaking my head. The Hayes family felt I was throwing shade, but they had no proof. They hadn't sent Ryan away, but they definitely weren't playing favorites. Nor had they neglected Ethan. They just couldn't bear to lose Ryan. After over a decade, those feelings had built up. They couldn't just cut him off. But they knew who came first. No matter how much they loved Ryan, they'd never put him above Ethan. So Ethan was just commenting on the show, not shading them. Even if he was shading the sisters. Mr. Hayes and Chloe comforted themselves and hid their guilt. At first, they had considered sending Ryan away. He was almost an adult. They could buy him a place and send him living expenses. They'd support him through college. But their daughters fought it hard. The girls kept pushing back, and the couple went soft too. Mr. Hayes glared at his daughters. Ryan couldn't stay there anymore. Covering his face, he sobbed and ran upstairs. I looked over, confused. What's wrong with him now? Ava kept a dark face and forced herself to stay quiet. Chloe's smile was strained. It's nothing. He's probably just not used to it yet. I frowned. So when I move back in, is he going to cry every day? That'd drive me insane. Chloe choked on that, suddenly feeling exhausted. Did you do that on purpose? Ava finally snapped. I quickly looked away and blinked innocently. Do what on purpose? Ava glared at me through clenched teeth. You were trying to upset him. Mom and Dad said they'd make it up to you. What else do you want? Will you only be happy once Ryan leaves? Now I got it. I tossed the remote onto the table. Then I stood up and gave Ava a cold look. So you won't be happy until I leave and make room for your precious brother? I can't even speak in my own home? I have to protect the fake heir's feelings? With that, I turned and left. The living room went silent. Mr. Hayes stormed over in a rage and tore into his youngest daughter. Ava kept begging for mercy. I'm warning you girls. Treat Ethan like that again, and I'll throw every one of you out. His face turned deadly serious. You all need to understand this. Ethan is your real brother, your own flesh and blood. In this whole swap with Ryan, Ethan is the bigger victim. You only worry Ryan might feel wronged. Why don't you think about all these years? And how much your real brother suffered? The Hayes family can keep raising Ryan, but he will never come before Ethan. Mr. Hayes looked at his youngest daughter, his face dark. You and Ryan are close in age, and you've been closest since childhood. I get why you protect him, but get this straight. Ethan did nothing wrong, and he owes none of you a thing. I'll only say this once. If any of you hurt Ethan again, I'll skin you alive. Ava's mouth twitched. She knew that was aimed at her. Dad, don't worry. We know where the line is. Grace spoke up and explained today's situation again. We thought you wouldn't arrive so soon, so we agreed to watch his match. If I'd known you'd be back early, I never would have gone. Nora Hayes and Claire Hayes nodded. The two were twins. Mr. Hayes and Chloe went upstairs with dark faces, leaving the four sisters staring at each other. Grace, don't you think our brother is kind of… Nora paused, taking a while to find the right word, to describe their newly returned brother. Special. His personality is pretty special. Grace thought back to tonight and nodded in full agreement. He won't take a loss, and that mouth can bury people. But he doesn't seem to mean it. He's not trying to provoke anyone. He just says whatever he thinks and doesn't know how to soften it. He's just too blunt. Then she thought of their other brother. She couldn't help frowning. Ryan really was too sensitive. If he keeps this up and doesn't fix his mindset, he'll be the one who suffers. Just like Dad said, Even if we've lived with him for over 10 years and naturally lean toward him, we can't keep wronging our real brother for his sake. So that mindset has to change. Grace turned to Ava. You're closest to Ryan and closest in age. Talk to him. Tell him to stop overthinking. Now that Ethan is back, Mom and Dad will favor him a bit. That's normal. But that doesn't mean they stopped loving Ryan. He's still their son. Ava was young and impulsive, but she wasn't stupid. She nodded solemnly. I know. And one more thing. Grace's face turned serious, pulling rank as the oldest sister. Be nicer to Ethan from now on, or I'll deal with you myself. After lecturing her youngest sister, Grace got up and went to her room. Nora and Claire exchanged a look. Let's go. Ava was furious. What is this? We all did it, so why is it suddenly all my fault? I didn't care what they thought downstairs. I went back to my room and shut the door. My parents had prepared this room with care. It was beautifully decorated. From the design to the items, it was exactly what a teenage boy would like. Thank God it wasn't pink. If I had to stay in a room like that, I'd probably be up all night. As soon as I entered, I sensed a strange ripple in the air. I lightly waved my hand. I set a ward around the room so no one would notice anything odd, and start asking questions. Then, out of nowhere, a man in a black robe and a demon mask appeared. He came to me and knelt on one knee. Your Highness. I frowned at him. What are you doing here? The second I asked, I had a bad feeling. Sure enough, the city lord had sent him with a message. My sister was back in Greyhaven? Wasn't she always at the 6th court? How long had it been since she last returned? I had only just come to the mortal world, and she went back to Greyhaven? Before I left, I still hoped she'd finish her business and report back directly. That way, she wouldn't return to Greyhaven yet. But fate had other plans. I had barely slipped out when she came back. Remembering her old warnings, guilt flashed in my eyes. Back then, she warned me again and again never to enter the mortal world on my own. City business had to be discussed first. But I happened to meet Ethan, and the timing felt perfect. While my sister was away, I arranged everything myself. With her strict temper, I was probably getting chewed out this time. The man replied, Your Highness, the city lord has returned to Greyhaven and found you came here without permission. She is furious, so she ordered me to deliver a message. With that, he stood to present it. A faint glow flashed in midair. An envelope appeared from nowhere, then slowly vanished. A line of words appeared clearly, rippling faintly in the air. Soon it dissolved. It lasted only a moment, but I saw it perfectly. They called it a line, but it was really just 4 characters. Coming soon. What a headache. My sister coming to the mortal world isn't a good idea, right? The masked man's voice was flat. Your Highness, no one can change the city lord's decision. Meaning, stop hoping. I just had to get ready to welcome her. I fell silent. The man soon vanished from the room. I deflated like a balloon, completely wilted. My sister was coming. How exactly was she planning to come? If she came as the city lord, that would be fine. Then she definitely couldn't stay long. At that thought, hope came back. As for her settling the score later, I did this for Greyhaven. For that alone, she shouldn't be too harsh. On the 3rd day, when the Hayes family came downstairs, they saw me watching TV in the living room, and everyone froze. They blinked hard and looked at the big clock in the living room. For a moment, everyone went silent. It was barely 6 in the morning. Hearing movement behind me, I finally looked away from the TV. I glanced at the people coming downstairs and casually said good morning. Then I turned right back to the screen, focused as ever. I clearly didn't want to waste a second. Chloe froze, then snapped back. She walked straight over and slowly sat beside me. First, she glanced at the screen. The morning news was on. Ethan, if you like TV this much, why don't I have one put in your room? Then you can watch there too. Chloe just wanted to grant her son's every wish, no matter what. My eyes lit up. I was just about to nod yes, when Grace came downstairs and spoke before I could. Mom, that's not a great idea. If you put a TV in his room, what if he gets hooked and stays up all night? He's still growing. That reminded Chloe, right? With how hooked he was, if a TV went in his room, he'd definitely watch all night. That was not okay. She quickly changed her mind. I didn't think that through. That really won't work. We can't mess with Ethan's sleep. Watch in the living room. I can watch with you too. We can even discuss the plot. My dream of watching TV all night was crushed. I gave Grace a resentful look. This oldest sister definitely didn't like me. She wouldn't even let me have a TV. By comparison, my sister back in Greyhaven seemed better. Chloe noticed I was upset. She found it funny, but her heart ached. What kid these days didn't use a phone? Most kids didn't care about TV, yet her son found it so new. Who would believe that? She coaxed me softly, Putting one in your room really isn't convenient. It would hurt your sleep. Besides, you can't stay in your room all the time. A bedroom is for sleeping. Watch here if you like. No one else cares about TV, so no one will fight you for it. I thought it over, saw her point, and nodded obediently. Then I stressed one thing. No one can take the remote from me. Chloe couldn't help laughing, her eyes full of love. Fine, fine. The TV is all yours. If anyone dares fight you for a channel, I'll deal with her for you. Then she shot a pointed glare at the daughters coming downstairs. Grace's mouth twitched. How long had it been since she watched TV? Why would she fight her little brother for it? If anyone did, it'd be Ava. Grace glanced at her. Ava instantly bristled. Grace, why are you staring at me? Do you think I'd fight him for a channel? She wasn't that childish. At her over-the-top protest, Chloe, the other three Hayes daughters, and Ryan, who had just come downstairs, plus Mr. Hayes, all looked at her. I slowly twisted the knife. Even if you want to fight me, you'd need the skills. Chloe immediately snapped at her youngest daughter. Don't you ever fight Ethan for the TV. Do you hear me? If I find out you bullied him, I'll have your dad cut off your allowance. Not a single cent left. Ava instantly looked like a wronged little frog, cheeks puffed, furious, secretly glaring at me several times. I didn't even spare her a glance, making her too mad to eat breakfast. By this age, most kids would be seniors in high school. Ryan would take college entrance exams next June, and Ethan should have too. But he had lived in a temple and never had formal schooling. Given his age, what grade should he start in? Could he keep up if he went straight into senior year? Enrollment was easy enough, but choosing a grade was the headache. Mr. Hayes frowned harder the more he thought. He brought up school with me. I could use it to learn about this world. Ryan's eyes shifted, and he suggested with a smile, Dad, why not put Ethan in my class? That way I can look after him. I can help him with schoolwork too. I didn't even look at him. Mr. Hayes was tempted, but worried his son couldn't keep up. If he couldn't, his grades would be awful. Ryan had always been an excellent student. Put them side by side and, besides, the Hayes child mix-up couldn't be kept secret in their circle, and they had never planned to hide it. Once everyone knew, people would inevitably compare the two. What if that hurt his son's pride? Grace spoke calmly. Dad, don't worry too much. If Ethan can't keep up, we'll hire one-on-one tutors. When we're free, we can teach him ourselves. This semester is almost over. Ethan can start next semester. He can use this time to catch up. I don't think it'll be a big problem. Chloe's eyes lit up, and she clapped happily. Right? Why didn't I think of that? We can hire private tutors. Aside from Ava, who's not great at school, you three have excellent grades. Tutoring Ethan in senior year courses won't be a problem. Then she made the decision herself. Let Ethan rest at home for 2 days. Then you three sisters take turns. Each of you tutor one subject and help Ethan catch up with schoolwork. Grace nodded. Sure. Since Grace had agreed, Nora and Claire nodded too. For a moment, Ava didn't know whether to feel relieved or annoyed that everyone looked down on her. I had planned to refuse, but seeing all three sisters agree and Chloe so excited, I silently swallowed my refusal. Ryan bit his lower lip and lowered his eyes, hiding the deep hurt in them. The Hayes family's child mix-up had long stopped being a secret in their circle. My parents had never planned to hide it. They had even planned to throw a party once I settled in, invite the social elite, and publicly restore my identity. That way, I wouldn't be mocked or wronged when I went out. I didn't really like events like that, but I knew it was necessary. Otherwise, outsiders would make wild guesses and think the real heir wasn't welcome, or was even being held down by Ryan, the fake heir. Once I adjusted a bit to the new place, Chloe couldn't wait to drag me to a big mall for a shopping spree. Except for Grace and Dad, who had work, everyone was dragged out to shop with me. Ryan was the only one left out. Ava sat up front, fuming. She kept glaring at me through the mirror. I didn't even bother looking up. It was obvious why she was mad. Ryan was the one who didn't want to come. Was I supposed to beg him? When we reached the mall lot, Ava rushed off to park. Nora and Claire stayed with Mom, and we walked into the mall to start today's shopping trip. The Hayes daughters carried the bags while Chloe held my arm affectionately. As we walked, I suddenly stopped and tilted my head to listen. Mom, did you hear something weird? I think I heard a dull thud, like something fell from high up and slammed into the ground. And it wasn't some normal object. That sound was distinct. Chloe listened too. No, this is a huge mall. It's packed. Even if we heard something, it's probably just the crowd. Just then, Nora noticed something was wrong up ahead. Faint screams were coming from that direction. Mom, I think something happened up front. My eyes flickered. I grabbed Chloe's wrist. Mom, let's go take a look. Before anyone could stop me, I pulled Mom and ran. We pushed toward the commotion, leaving the sisters staring at each other. Why is he such a gossip? Ava muttered as she came back from parking. Nora gave her a flat look. If Mom hears that, you're getting yelled at again. Ava rolled her eyes. Let's hurry and catch up. If it's serious, Mom and Ethan could be in danger. Claire said calmly, then started after them. Nora followed quickly. Ava trailed behind at her own pace. Pulled along by her son, Chloe soon reached the crowd. Seeing me shove into the crowd, her mouth twitched. Who knew? Ethan usually looked so cool and detached. But he loved watching drama this much. That somehow made him even cuter. But when Chloe saw what was ahead, her face went white. She gasped in fear and instinctively stepped in front of me. Still feeling it wasn't safe enough, she turned and covered my eyes. She wouldn't let me see the horrifying scene. A serious accident had happened in the mall. I just wanted to see what happened. I just wanted to check it out. Why cover my eyes? I'm from the underworld. One look tells me how someone died. If it was a wrongful death, they'd go to my Grey Haven. Then they'd be one of my people. Man, Grey Haven really is getting overcrowded. Mom, I'm not a little kid anymore. I'm not scared. I gently pulled Chloe's hand down and said calmly. Chloe gave me an annoyed look. How are you not a kid? You haven't even had your birthday yet. What a mistake. A 1,000-year-old ghost, was now a child. Nora caught up and blocked me too. I helplessly rubbed my forehead. Mall security responded at once and called the police. They called an ambulance and began clearing the crowd. Chloe wouldn't let me keep snooping. She dragged me away. The incident still affected Chloe. Since we'd bought enough, she decided to head home and come back another day. With a death like that at the mall, the place just felt unlucky. Mom, you all wait in the car. I'll get some air in the hall. Chloe wanted to come with me, but I firmly refused. I'm not 3. I don't need a parent glued to me just to get air. I followed the signs to the corridor. As I stood by the window, a young man walked over. He jumped when he saw me by the window. Then he hurried past with his head down. I stared at his back. My nose twitched as I lightly sniffed the air. I caught a faint scent of death. I lingered by the window on purpose. The man soon came back. He froze when he saw me still there. He didn't seem to expect me to still be around. I calmly waited for him. Then I sniffed carefully again. I was sure that scent of death was coming from him. It was faint, but I couldn't help taking a closer look. What are you looking at? Never seen a hot guy? He noticed my stare right away. Like I'd hit a nerve, he snapped at me. Then he hurried off in a panic. His back screamed guilt. If someone is near death, they carry a heavy death aura. That man clearly didn't. So there were only 2 possibilities. Either he picked it up from someone else, or he had killed someone himself. The first had too many variables. The second was much simpler. I couldn't help thinking of the young woman who fell from upstairs. I calmly dusted off my hands and left. Chloe was frantic in the car. After what had just happened, she felt uneasy and feared something might happen to her newly found son. Only when we got home safely did she finally relax. She soon pushed the mall incident aside. She busied herself sorting the things we bought, while I collapsed onto the couch. I turned on the TV and kept watching with delight. I had basically become a hardcore TV addict. Nora and Claire went upstairs to study. Both sisters were top students and would be seniors in college next year. Their schoolwork had gotten intense. Ava was the only one with free time. She plopped down on the living room couch. Seeing Mom busy upstairs, she couldn't keep her mouth shut. She sneered, "Bumpkin, what's so great about TV? You've never seen anything." My eyes stayed locked on the screen. I heard her and nodded. I admitted it calmly. "Yeah. I grew up in a mountain temple. Of course I haven't seen much. I'm Grey Haven's prince. After my sister dumped all the work on me, I was swamped. I had no time for Mortal World trivia, just the basics. But now that I'm using Ethan's identity, I need to learn this world fast. TV seems like the fastest way. I can learn the world without leaving home. How easy is that?" Ava choked hard. "You did that on purpose, didn't you? You brought that up just to make us feel guilty. So your place in this family stays secure." Ava kept ranting. I gave her one contemptuous look, like she was an idiot. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw someone coming downstairs. With zero guilt, I loudly tattled. "Mom, Ava's insulting me again. She called me a bumpkin and said I was making you feel guilty on purpose. That I want you to feel sorry for me. She hates me this much, so is she trying to force me out?" Ava's eyes flew wide. She nearly coughed up blood. Before she could react, someone yanked her ear hard. "Calm down, Mom. Please calm down. Don't listen to him. He's making stuff up." "I swear I didn't." Ava grimaced in pain, still yelling in her own defense. I pointed at her nose, cheeks puffed in anger, with just the right hurt on my face. She said it herself. She said I was a bumpkin who'd never even seen a TV. I already explained I grew up in a mountain temple, so of course I haven't seen much. Then she started insulting me. Ava opened her mouth to argue, but she had said every word. She just hadn't meant it that way. You must be begging for a beating. Get over here. I'll teach you a lesson today. Don't ruin your brother's TV time. Chloe didn't soften this time. She dragged Ava aside by the ear. She was set on teaching that brat a proper lesson. She couldn't understand it. Ava clearly doted on Ryan so much, spoiling him like some priceless treasure. So why target Ethan the second he came back? Ethan was her real brother, her own flesh and blood. How could she be this clueless? Clearly, she hadn't been scolded enough. I coldly glanced at Ava, who kept yelping. I had not one shred of sympathy. I even shot her a smug look, nearly sending Ava straight to heaven. Now I saw it clearly. Of the 4 Hayes daughters, Ava had the worst brain, hopelessly dumb. My attention returned to the TV, locked on the news channel. I looked like I was waiting for something. Sure enough, the local station reported the mall incident. At around 11 a.m. today, a fall occurred at Meridian Mall downtown. A young woman was badly injured in the accident and later died despite emergency treatment. Police are still investigating the cause, so she really died. I lowered my gaze and thought of the man I met in the hallway. He was about the same age and looked extremely panicked and guilty. Most importantly, he carried the scent of death. Was that man connected to the victim? Was her fall an accident, suicide, or murder? I wanted to rush back to the scene right away and see if her life had ended naturally or been cut short. But I just returned to the Hayes family and knew nothing about this city. Going out alone would be almost impossible. At that thought, I had to shelve the idea for now. After the news, I slowly stood and walked to the other side. I acted kind and advised Mom stop scolding her. She wasn't exactly wrong earlier. I hadn't even finished when Ava yelled, full of resentment, I don't need your fake kindness. That kicked the hornet's nest. Chloe had almost calmed down, but her anger shot right back up. Ethan, don't worry about this brat. She's tough. Even if I break the duster on her, she'll be fine. I made you some tonic in the kitchen. Go see if it's ready. Chloe meant to send me away. I gave Ava a sympathetic glance and briskly headed to the kitchen for food. Ava thought I was just gloating and glared hard at my back. Chloe caught her red-handed. Ava was done for. Chloe was breaking that duster today. I was still figuring out how to find the man from the hallway when the chance came right to me. The Hayes family was holding a grand homecoming banquet. Almost every Baybridge social elite got an invitation. On banquet day, the Hayes mansion was buzzing. Perfume, gowns, and clinking glasses filled the room, with polished socialites everywhere, and successful men in suits chatting in small groups. I stayed upstairs in my room the whole time. Chloe was tied up downstairs and planned to come get me when it was time, so she could properly introduce me to everyone. I changed into my custom suit and left my room when the time was close. Passing Ryan's room, I paused and tilted my ear to listen. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop. The people inside were just talking loud over the noise downstairs, and I wasn't exactly an ordinary mortal. With one listen, I recognized the voice. The woman talking to Ryan was my aunt in name. Because of this grand homecoming banquet, the Hayes relatives from the capital had all come, including my uncle's family, who inherited the Hayes company and ancestral home. Most of the assets too, plus that high and mighty old Mrs. Hayes. But honestly, their sincerity felt SOSO. The banquet was today, yet they only strolled in last night. Old Mrs. Hayes stayed at the Hayes mansion. The senior branch went straight to a downtown hotel. I propped my chin in one hand and thought, Ryan seems pretty close to the senior branch. That aunt barely glanced at me from start to finish, and only tossed out a few perfunctory greetings. As I thought, footsteps sounded inside. I quickly slipped back into my room. After those two left and went downstairs, I opened my door again and came out. Chloe happened to come upstairs for me. Seeing me all dressed up, she smiled at once, her eyes full of love and awe. Ethan, you look so handsome tonight. And she wasn't wrong. Chloe figured it was his training and his distance from worldly mess that gave him such a clean, clear aura. The more she looked, the more she adored him. The more she looked, the softer her heart got. She silently vowed to protect her son with everything she had and keep him just like this forever, carefree for the rest of his life. It's about time. Mom will take you downstairs. After 2 steps, I asked casually, don't we need to get Ryan? No. Tonight's banquet is for you. He's with his aunt right now. It's fine. If we call him over, he'll probably overthink it. He's been very sensitive lately. That left them unsure what to do. His aunt seemed to dote on him. From what I'd learned lately, my new dad and his older brother weren't that close. Otherwise, after the family split, he wouldn't have moved to Baybridge and started over. They did go back to the capital each year, but only out of respect for old Mrs. Hayes. So why did his aunt favor Ryan so much? Chloe didn't find it strange and explained patiently. You know your dad's family. He has an older brother and an older sister. Your uncle and Aunt Victoria have no sons. Your dad's sister did have one, but he isn't a Hayes. I was the only one who had a precious son like you. So, as Chloe spoke, guilt crossed her face. The one who should have enjoyed all that love was her Ethan. He was the Hayes family's cherished young master, but fate played a cruel trick. Thinking of that made her heart ache again. I raised a brow. So that was the reason. I'd been back with the Hayes family for over half a month. Tonight was my first real debut. With Chloe and Mr. Hayes on either side, I slowly walked down the stairs. My looks and bearing instantly pulled every guest's eyes to me. There was no fear or shrinking in me. Every move carried the poise of an old money heir raised with endless care. Seeing me in the spotlight, Ryan's heart clenched. He stared at me, unable to hide the loss and deep jealousy in his heart. Ryan, don't panic. He's just putting on an act. Anyone can put on airs. You're the young master raised by the Hayes family. Don't forget, you've lived with the Hayes family for over 10 years. So what if he's the real son? Bonds take time to build. Victoria Morgan noticed Ryan's mood shift and patted his hand soothingly. She comforted him softly. Ryan forced a bitter smile. Aunt Victoria, I'm fine. I'm actually happy for them. Mom and Dad found their real son. That's a wonderful thing. I enjoyed the Hayes family's love for years. In the end, I owe Ethan. Victoria gave him an exasperated look and scolded him under her breath. What does this have to do with you? You were a baby too. Their parents failed to watch the babies, and that's how the swap happened. No one can blame you. Relax and stop overthinking. I know your parents. They raised you with love for years. Even with their real son back, they'll never stop loving you. Fix your mindset. Don't lower yourself. In short, remember this. You did nothing wrong. And you owe no one an apology. Do you understand? Ryan bit his lip and nodded, saying nothing more annoying. His parents would still love him, sure, but never like before. Before, at home, even across the whole Hayes clan. Whether in Baybridge or the capital, he was the Hayes family's only golden boy. Everyone doted on him and gave him whatever he wanted. He was all they saw and cared about. But now, he clearly felt the huge drop. Since Ethan came back, Mom and Dad barely saw him. Their hearts and eyes were all on Ethan. Even his sisters were the same. Only Ava still defended him with all her heart. Just thinking about it made Ryan feel wronged. The more Ryan thought about it, the more wronged he felt. Everything that used to be his now had to be split away, more than half of it. Who could take that? While he was dazed, Mr. Hayes and Chloe had already, with great ceremony, introduced me to the guests, openly showing how much they valued and loved me. Even the 4 Hayes sisters stood beside their parents. To everyone watching, that naturally sent a very different message. Ryan, isn't your family going too far? They're playing happy family over there, so why are they leaving you out? Victoria had gone off to socialize. Some rich young heirs close to Ryan gathered around, angry on his behalf. Don't talk nonsense. Tonight is Ethan's night. This banquet was held for him. He's the rightful star. What would I be doing up there? It wasn't that Mr. Hayes and Chloe meant to leave him out. Chloe had suggested earlier that Ryan go on stage too, but Ryan firmly refused. He insisted Ethan was the real heir, and the banquet was made for Ethan. So he really shouldn't stand there. He sounded perfectly reasonable. Chloe thought it over and felt that having him stand there might not be good for him. It would invite comparisons and only make things more awkward for him. So she dropped it. But even though she dropped it, Ryan still felt wronged. Though he said that now, the loss in his voice was obvious, making his friends even more upset for him. Ryan, sure, Ethan is the real heir, but you've been with the Hayes family for over 10 years. No reason for him to squeeze you out the second he comes back. One more son means nothing to them. If we're going by who came first, he's the outsider who showed up late. You can't judge it that way. He is Mom and Dad's real son. He suffered in that mountain temple, while I enjoyed everything in the Hayes family. It's normal for him to be upset. I understand all that. I would never hold it against him. Ryan put on a generous face. His friend beside him curled his lip. The contempt in his eyes was clear. A wild kid raised in some mountain temple? He probably doesn't even know what a TV looks like. Hard to believe hicks like that still exist. Between you and that bumpkin, anyone with a brain knows who to favor. You're the refined young master the Hayes family built with money and power. How could that bumpkin compare? If Uncle Hayes and Aunt Chloe can't see that, they'll regret it one day. Just wait until that bumpkin humiliates the Hayes family and turns them into a joke in high society. Ryan, you can't be so soft. The more you back down, the easier you are to bully. If it's yours, fight for it. Ryan nodded again and again. I know. Don't worry. No one bullies me at home. Ava still treats me just like before. Sounded soothing, but it was bait. He only said Ava treated him the same. Wasn't that basically saying the other three sisters no longer cared about him like before? Did having their real brother mean dumping the adopted one? Ryan knew when to stop. He didn't really mean to do anything evil. He'd just seen Ethan steal the show, and suddenly feared Ethan would fit in fast and steal all his spotlight. So he planted a seed with his friends first. One person tells 10, 10 tell 100. Even if it couldn't really stop anything, could at least do something, right? As they spoke, they saw tonight's real star, me, walking over. Their faces shifted, but they quickly forced themselves calm. They told themselves I hadn't heard a word, so why be scared? There was nothing to feel guilty about. Ryan felt guilty anyway, so he missed one friend beside him turning white when he saw me. He quickly lowered his eyes, hands twisting together. Then he jerked them apart and acted calm. You look really handsome tonight. Ryan praised me with a gentle smile. I nodded slightly. Of course I'm handsome. Speaking of, it was a strange kind of fate. His own face really did look a bit like mine. When I saw Ethan's soul in Greyhaven, even I was surprised. I never expected the new unlucky ghost to resemble me. Later, I figured it was probably fate. I accepted the compliment calmly and looked at the man beside Ryan. And this is? Ryan looked a little surprised. He glanced at his friend and introduced him. This is my good friend, Dylan Whitmore. He's the Whitmore family's young heir. Ryan had known Dylan the longest. They had been inseparable since elementary school. Oh, so you're the Whitmore heir. I drew out the last word, my tone loaded. Ryan looked between us strangely and asked, Ethan, do you know Dylan? Before I could answer, Dylan rushed to deny it. No, we don't know each other at all. But he was way too quick, which made him look suspicious. My smile grew even more pointed. We really don't know each other. We just ran into each other in a mall hallway the other day. Back then, I drew it out on purpose, but Dylan cut me off in a rush. I just remembered something urgent. I have to go. I'll hang out with you another day. With that, he turned and fled before Ryan could respond. From behind, he looked like he was running for his life. I had come over to test him. I didn't expect Dylan's nerves to be this bad. Wasn't he basically telling me something was definitely wrong? If nothing was wrong, why was he panicking? Thinking that, I looked at Ryan. Ryan stiffened under my stare, suddenly nervous and awkward. He stammered, What's wrong? That friend of yours. I spoke slowly, as if keeping Ryan on edge on purpose. Ethan, if Dylan offended you somehow, please don't hold it against him. I'm sure he didn't mean it. He's actually a good person. I smiled like I didn't care. It's fine. Since he's your good friend, invite him over sometime. Ryan clearly froze and opened his mouth to say something, but I gave him no chance to speak. Let's make it the day after tomorrow. Invite him over. I'll have the kitchen get ready. We'll serve him some fancy desserts. The senior branch will be back in the capital by then. My tone wasn't asking. It was a cold notice. After that, I turned and left, giving Ryan no chance to refuse. Ryan and his friends stared at each other, completely lost. There was a reason I had my eye on Dylan. Besides smelling death on him that day, the news later reported that the girl who fell at the mall had died from an accidental fall. If it really was an accident, that would be one thing. The problem was, I clearly felt resentment. Came from the girl who fell. I was in the mortal world now, but when Greyhaven gained a new soul, I could still sense it. Lily Bennett had been caught in a dispute. In the end, she fell by accident, but they covered up the truth. So many people die every day, naturally and unnaturally. I can't sense every unnatural death. Some kind of trigger has to happen. I think it was because I happened to be at the mall that day, and I had been close to the victim. That's why I sensed her resentment so sharply. Greyhaven is where souls who die before their time stay. Those who die normally follow the regular process. The underworld reviews their life and decides where they go next. Most reincarnate. A few ascend through virtue, and some are sent to Greyhaven until their original lifespan ends. If they were innocently dragged into someone else's mess, they must wait until the truth comes out and their resentment fades before reincarnating. But now Greyhaven is overcrowded. Souls that should have reincarnated can't leave and can only remain there, day after day, year after year. Plenty still came to Greyhaven, but fewer and fewer left. At this rate, Greyhaven would be gone. Countless souls would vanish too. The reason? The rebirth gate had somehow shut and wouldn't open, so no soul could leave. My sister and I worked on it for ages. We tried everything, but nothing worked. Later, Bodhisattva Ksitigarbha gave us a hint, and it finally clicked. That's how I ended up in the mortal world. My purpose here was to gather merit and devotion and reopen the rebirth gate. That would get Greyhaven running again. Now the chance had come knocking. I couldn't exactly turn it down, right? Ryan racked his brain but still couldn't figure out what I was up to. After the banquet, he told Chloe about it. He thought that, given how much Chloe cared about me now, she might say no. To his surprise, she happily agreed. Chloe was no help. When he ran into Ava on his way out, his eyes flickered. He greeted her as usual, then looked like he wanted to say something. Anyone could see he had something to say, let alone Ava, who cared about him. Ava had wanted to avoid him. She felt a little guilty. She felt Ryan had been wrong tonight, but there was nothing she could do. Ryan had grown up with her and been spoiled by the sisters for over 10 years. But Ethan was her real brother too. Both were family to her. But wronging Ethan just so Ryan wouldn't feel wronged was definitely not okay. If she dared do that, Mom and Dad would throw her out. So she didn't know how to face him and thought it better to avoid him. But seeing him look so torn, like he wanted to speak but didn't dare, her heart softened. Ryan, is there something you want to tell me? Ryan bit his lip and hesitated. Eva, Ethan, I don't know if Dylan offended Ethan and upset him. If he did, I'll apologize for Dylan. But Ethan, he told me to invite Dylan over. Ava, do you think Ethan wants to start trouble? Ava frowned hard. She clearly found it strange too. After thinking, she said, it's fine. I'm free anyway. I'll stay home then. I won't let him do anything crazy. Ryan fell silent. Ava, can we just drop it? Ethan is my brother too, and Dylan is my friend. I don't want them having any conflict. Ava scratched her head. Ryan, you know how things are at home right now. If he wants to invite your friend over, Mom and Dad will say yes. Not only that, they'll be happy. There's no reason to refuse. If you object, Mom will definitely chew you out again. Seeing Ryan look so down, Ava patted her chest and promised, don't worry, I'll keep an eye on him. I won't let him bully Dylan. With that said, Ryan had no other option. He had another reason for stopping it. A strange unease. He trusted his gut, but since he couldn't stop it, he'd have to find another way. Overall, tonight's homecoming banquet was a real success. Old Mrs. Hayes wasn't exactly warm or thrilled, but she wasn't foolish enough to act out on an occasion like this. The night passed peacefully, and the guests had fun. Since coming back, I'd had total freedom. In every way, Chloe and Mr. Hayes had never told me what I had to do. They only said that now that I was home, I should do whatever felt comfortable. I slept until I woke naturally every day. Getting up early gave me nothing to do anyway, and I stayed up online every night. I was learning this world, so sleeping late was understandable. No one in the Hayes family would scold me, but I forgot we had extra people now. And they apparently didn't like me. The moment I came down that morning, someone started in. The elders are all up, and here you are, sleeping till now. Old Mrs. Hayes saw me come down and gave me a sideways look. She said unhappily, look at our Ryan. He got up early to help make breakfast. You should learn from him. At least show some respect for your elders. Chloe was instantly upset. Mom, there's nothing at home that needs help. Let the kids sleep as long as they want. Besides, it's not even late. Ava isn't up yet either. And respect isn't measured by wake-up time. Chloe instinctively defended her son, not knowing that by doing so, her words hurt Ryan. Wasn't she basically saying he got up early on purpose? To make breakfast and suck up to everyone? I stayed unmoved and sat down leisurely. I looked at Ryan like I just realized something. I've been back a while now, but I don't think I've ever had breakfast you made. Did you not make enough? And everyone ate it all without saving me any? I thought you got up later than me every day. So you get up first to make breakfast, then go back to sleep? Ryan flushed with shame. Since I came back, he'd felt awkward and tried to avoid me. So he got up late. And since it was break, he only came down for meals and stayed in his room the rest of the day. As for breakfast, the family had staff. He was a Hayes young master. How could he possibly cook often? Since Grandma praised you so much, your breakfast must be great. I'd like to try it tomorrow, I said with a smile. I wasn't forcing Ryan to cook, but the meaning was obvious. Old Mrs. Hayes grew even more displeased. We have staff. Why are you ordering Ryan around? I looked at her, confused. How is that ordering him around? He keeps saying he's my brother. As the older brother, what's wrong with making breakfast for his little brother? Besides, I'm doing this to show you respect too, Grandma. Everyone at the table, except Chloe, looked like they were hearing nonsense. I looked dead serious. Cooking skill comes from practice. Without practice, how can he cook well? If he's making breakfast for Grandma, what if his skills are bad and something goes wrong? Grandma is so old. She can't take any mishaps. I sighed again, looking completely selfless. I'm different. I'm young, and I've suffered so much before. I'm used to it. I can be his guinea pig while he practices. Even Chloe's rose-colored filter cracked. Something that's shameless. How did Ethan say it with a straight face? Ryan was almost roasted to tears. Victoria Morgan frowned hard. You're far too stubborn. Your grandmother only said one thing, and you talked back 10 times. Aren't you afraid of upsetting her? And Ryan, you turned a nice gesture into something ugly. She looked at me disapprovingly. I know you're angry. You think Ryan enjoyed your life for years and took what was yours. But Ryan was just a baby back then. What could he know? He's as innocent as you. Why target him? Ryan is gentle. If he says he sees you as his brother, then he means it. Isn't it nice to have one more brother who cares? Why make it so hard? She shook her head, looking disappointed. Chloe was furious inside. She held it in, but her face clearly darkened. Victoria, you misunderstood. Ethan isn't targeting anyone. He's just too blunt. He doesn't know how to soften his words. But he means no harm. Exactly. What harm could I mean? I'm not targeting him. I treat him better than Ava. Ask her if you don't believe me. I know he's innocent too, so I didn't make Mom and Dad kick him out. He still gets to be a Hayes young master. Isn't that enough? I'm moved to tears by my own kindness. I've never met anyone this forgiving. My face was pure innocence. I've gone this far, yet Aunt Victoria still thinks I'm bullying him. Do you want me to hand him my identity too? My real parents too? I stressed real parents on purpose. Victoria choked hard. What else could she say? Maybe my face looked too sincere. Even Victoria couldn't tell if I said it on purpose. Old Mrs. Hayes was just as choked and tried to pull rank. But I gave her no chance. You're worried I'll bully Ryan too? Mom and Dad said everyone loves him. How about this? Let him live with Grandma from now on. He's not a kid anymore anyway. He doesn't need constant care, and he can take better care of you. He can make you breakfast every day. I tilted my head, acting cute. That way he cares for Grandma, and no one has to worry I'll bully him. 2 birds, 1 stone. The whole table went quiet. Old Mrs. Hayes and Victoria glared at me. Chloe didn't know what face to make. As for Ryan, of course he was scared. Ethan, stop. Grandma and Aunt Victoria didn't mean that. They're just worried about me. But I'm not being wronged. Mom, Dad, and my sisters still treat me well. And of course you haven't bullied me. Don't take what they said to heart. If he moved in with Grandma, what would that make him? His position would be even more awkward. He was a Hayes son. He always would be. He looked pleadingly at the 2 elders. They truly did love him. For his sake, they swallowed their anger. The table finally calmed down. Everyone had lost their appetite, of course, except me. I ate with gusto and even had an extra bowl. The thick millet porridge and side dishes were light and appetizing. Seeing me like that, the 2 elders felt their anger burning. On the 3rd day, once the senior branch and old Mrs. Hayes left, I urged Ryan to invite Dylan over. Dylan wanted to refuse, but thinking of the hallway, he steeled himself and came to the Hayes home as promised. Chloe was very warm. She had Ryan keep him company while I arrived late. The second he saw me, guilty Dylan tensed up. He was still wondering how to avoid the Hayes family and talk to me alone. But I didn't play by the rules. I lifted my chin at Ava and Ryan. Give us a moment. I need to speak with Mr. Whitmore. Ryan's face changed. Dylan was his friend. Yet I was asking Ryan to step aside. Ethan, what are you trying to do? If Dylan offended you, just talk it out. You can't invite him here just to bully him. I gave Ava a disgusted look. If you're bored, use your brain more. That thing isn't just decoration, or there to make you look taller. Of the 4 Hayes sisters, the other 3 seem pretty smart. They can read a room too. Why is this one so different? Ava was furious. She opened her mouth to say more, but I raised my voice. Mom! Ava shuddered and snapped her mouth shut. Chloe hurried out when she heard me. Ethan, what's wrong? Mom, I want to take Ryan's friend to the garden. Is that okay? Chloe didn't find it strange at all. She smiled instead. Go ahead. The sun is strong right now, so don't get too much sun. Ryan quickly added, I'll come too. He really wasn't at ease. He felt I had a reason for inviting Dylan. I didn't care about saving face. I refused outright. No need. We'll be right back. You stay and keep her company. I glanced at Ava and said sarcastically, she stayed home just to make sure no one bullies you. Then I turned and walked off, not worried Dylan wouldn't follow. Ava looked embarrassed and felt even more that her real brother was seriously scheming. Just listen to what he said. Wasn't he poisoning Mom against her, hinting she thought he'd bully Ryan? That's why she stayed home. What a schemer. What do you want from me? Dylan looked at me warily. Before I could answer, he rushed on. I don't know what you're trying to do, but I didn't offend you in that hallway. Is this just because I glared at you? I cut him off. What's your connection to the girl who fell? Did you talk before it happened? Or, I slowly turned and tilted my head. My clear eyes seemed to see through everything. Maybe you were involved. I wasn't. Dylan's face changed. He denied it in a shrill voice, but his eyes couldn't hide a flash of fear and panic. You know better than anyone if I'm making this up. It was a covered-up accident. She got dragged in and lost her life. What if I went to the police? Dylan had already let something important slip. I spread my hands. Why would I need evidence? I just have to say it. Someone else will find the proof. I wonder if a rumor like that would hurt your reputation, Mr. Whitmore. You're threatening me. Don't think I'll fear you just because you're the young master. Compared to Ryan, you're nothing. You think you can replace Ryan? Dream on. Ryan has lived with the Hayes family for over 10 years. Ryan has lived with the Hayes family for over 10 years. You can't match his bond with them. I looked at him oddly. Why would I compare myself to Ryan? He's adopted. I'm their real son. Why would the real son replace the adopted one? I'm not crazy. And let me correct you. I'm not threatening you. I'm reminding you. If you don't want people to know, don't do it. A real person died. You think once it's ruled, you're safe? I said it pointedly, then turned and left. I only asked to save time. Even if I said nothing, once that girl's resentment grew strong enough, my identity would draw her to me. Dylan didn't take it seriously. Ryan wanted to ask what I had said, to make Dylan storm off and whether I'd bullied him. But from my face, he felt that if he asked, I'd roast him so badly he'd want to crawl into a hole. I was still wondering how long it would take to blow up. It happened faster than expected. Seeing it explode online, I felt it made sense. TV had taught me a lot. In this world, everything moves fast. Once something hits the internet, it beats any publicity. I figured that really was the fastest way. Maybe because we'd been at the mall. Chloe sighed at the news too. She thought it was just an accident, but never expected this. If her parents were telling the truth, then it was awful. The girl who fell was only 25. So young. I heard she was an only child. And just like that, she was gone. No wonder her parents couldn't accept it and insisted on making noise. If her own son died without answers, she'd go mad too. At that thought, Chloe quickly pushed it away. She had only just found Ethan, and they still had a long life ahead. Mother and son still had plenty of time together. The victim's parents told the media. Their daughter was sweet and quiet, had few friends, and came from a modest family. She didn't spend much and wasn't like others her age who loved shopping. She rarely bought personal things. She gave them all her wages for household expenses and kept none for herself. She usually just went between work and home. But she fell at a luxury mall, a place she couldn't afford. She acted a little off before leaving that day, but they didn't think much of it. They never imagined it would end like this. At first, they thought it was an accident. Then they found a secret while sorting her things. Their daughter had been mistreated, so they suspected her death wasn't an accident. They wanted truth and justice. Ryan's eyes darted away, unable to look at the parents on TV. His hands clenched on his knees, rubbing together, his face unnaturally pale. I noticed the news changed his expression. His look was strange. Thinking of his relationship with Dylan, something clicked, and I suddenly said, "Why are you so panicked? Do you know the victim? Or did you do something you can't admit?" Ryan looked startled. He snapped his head up and glared at me, shooting back, "Ethan, what are you saying? No matter how unhappy you are with me, you can't just say things like that." Chloe froze, then jumped at his sharp voice. "Ryan, do you know that poor girl? Is she related to one of your classmates?" That wasn't impossible. Ryan attended an expensive private high school, which admitted top students every year. They usually came from ordinary families, couldn't afford tuition but had excellent grades. Maybe she was a classmate's relative. Ryan's face changed again. "If you have nothing to hide, why can't you say it? You and Mr. Whitmore are both weird. You dodge and look guilty whenever this comes up. You might as well say you're involved. You've seen the news. This has blown up. One check and they'll find out. Better talk now and think of a fix." Chloe hadn't believed it at first, but Ryan's face made her heart sink. "Ryan, Mom, I really didn't." Ryan panicked. "Ethan doesn't know me, but don't you know what kind of person I am? I'm the son you raised for over 10 years. Seeing him look wronged again, I almost rolled my eyes. Drop the act. You're giving yourself away. Even if you didn't do it, you're connected. Let's see how long they hold out." I got up and went upstairs. Ryan's face went red, then pale, so angry he burst into tears. "Mom, you saw that. Since Ethan came back, I've backed down at every turn. I know I have no right to fight him, and I shouldn't. I want to get along with him and honor you and Dad together. But he hates everything about me. No matter what I do, he attacks me. Today Dylan stormed out, and I don't even know what Ethan did. Mom, tell me, what am I supposed to do? Maybe I should move out. I'm not an adult yet, but I think I can support myself. You raised me for years. You've already done so much for me. I can't ask for more. He seemed to pour out all his fear, worry, hurt, and resentment, covering his face as he cried hard. Chloe's heart ached. Both were family to her. Ethan was her real son, of course she loved him. But Ryan had been with her for over 10 years, and though not by blood, he felt like her own. She wasn't foolish enough to expect them to truly love each other. Peace was enough. And Ethan had said he didn't mind Ryan staying. Still, Ethan's mouth really was too blunt. He never knew how to soften things. Family could tolerate it, but what about outside? As she thought, her mind wandered. Ryan cried and waited, but no comfort came. He choked, looked up, and felt even more wronged. Mom was spacing out right now. This time, he was truly hurt. The second I returned to my room, I sensed something off. With a flick of my hand, I said a word. Come out. After a long moment, a blurry figure floated out shakily. The second my eyes swept over it, it shrank into the corner. You're a ghost now and still this timid. No wonder those rich brats bullied you. I seriously doubted someone this timid would be much better as a ghost. What could she do? Could she really trigger the chance I needed? I had serious doubts. How did you find this place? If you don't talk, I'm throwing you out. The figure panicked. I'm Lily Bennett. I had that accident at the mall a few days ago. Her voice fell. Took me days to accept it. Felt impossible, but I had to. When I fell that day, I knew I wouldn't make it. Even if I lived, I'd be badly hurt. My family couldn't afford the bills. Dying outright might have been better. For a while, I didn't know if I felt lucky or bitter. So what do you want? Revenge? Lily froze. Revenge? Can I even do that? If not, why come to me? If you didn't want revenge, you wouldn't still be here. I can't leave my parents. I'm sure you've seen how they are. You're their only child. Now that you're gone, they won't let this go. They look ready to fight to the bitter end. Lily was quiet for a long time, then murmured, they can't beat those people. Her voice was trembling. I thought I understood. I thought I understood. It wasn't that she didn't hate them or want revenge. She'd been bullied too long. The fear was branded into her soul. Even as a ghost, she feared people. It showed how deeply she'd felt power crushing her. Can you help me? I know you're different. You can help me, right? She suddenly looked up at me, pleading. She didn't know who this boy was, or why he could see her. But if he could see her and stay calm, he had to be special. Felt like fate had led her here. So he could help, right? I smiled faintly. How do you want me to help? That stumped her, right? How could I help? How could she ask without knowing? Did she hate them? Of course. Her fall wasn't an accident. It was a covered-up argument. When it happened, beyond fear and despair, she felt deep resentment. Why did they do this to her? She just couldn't stand rich brats bullying someone, so she stepped in and told them to stop. Why did that get her killed? She worked at a boba shop. A few rich brats often came in for drinks. Later, they caused trouble there. She tried to stop them and got insulted and threatened. Furious, she said she'd film them and would post it if they kept going. Only then did they back off. She thought it was just a small incident. She never thought she'd cross demons. From then on, they came after her. At school, they isolated and excluded her on purpose. They got others to smear and humiliate her. When she tried to quit, they threatened her boss. They found her address and scared her parents. They stuffed trash in her desk. They kept destroying her study materials. It never stopped. She thought if she endured until they got bored, it'd end. Instead, it cost her life. Afterward, they called it an accidental fall, and the truth was buried. As she remembered, her resentment surged, and the air in the room rippled. The curtains moved, and the lamp fringe swayed. Everything rustled. I want them to taste this too. I want them to get what they deserve. I rested my chin in my hand. What they deserve. Send them to prison? That's not hard. Lily's hatred was stirred up. Her fear vanished, turning cold. Her face twisted slightly. Prison? Their families won't let that happen. Even if they do, it won't be long. My life for a few years in prison? Is my life worth that little? She couldn't accept it. Then how about a life for a life? I said it lightly, like it was nothing. Lily froze. Her boiling resentment paused. If that can happen, of course that's best. But can you do it? She asked carefully. If it could happen, of course it was best. Why was she gone? While others got to live like nothing happened. Did her death mean nothing? Legal justice might not balance the scales. I smiled faintly. Of course I can. Lily's eyes lit with joy. Can you really help me get revenge? If I do, can you leave in peace? She nodded, then paused, her face full of grief. I can let go of the hate, but not my parents. I'm their only child. I thought and said, your parents aren't that old. Maybe they can have another child. She never expected to hear that. Thinking of their age, it really was possible. So she could rest easy. When will you avenge me? What price do I pay? My eyes flickered. I smiled knowingly. Don't worry. I won't help you for free, but I won't ask for anything you can't bear. We'll talk payment when it's done. I'm not an ordinary person, so I won't ask for ordinary things. Lily nodded without hesitation. Then wait, this needs the right timing. She nodded, then asked nervously, can you protect my parents? I'm from the underworld, not some god in heaven. I handle the dead, not the living. Seeing me stay quiet, her eyes reddened. If you can't, it's okay. Seeing how pitiful she looked, I said, don't worry. Your parents should be fine. This has already blown up. If anything happens now, it'd be impossible to contain. Mom, I'm going out for a bit, I told Chloe. Chloe froze. Out? Where are you going? I'll have the driver take you. No, I'll take a cab. A driver would get in the way. But Ethan had never gone out alone since coming home. He didn't know Baybridge. What if he got lost by himself? I saw her worry. Mom, it's fine. I know the way. Besides, in a cab, I just give the driver the address. No worries. Still no. There are too many bad people out there. How about this? I'll have Ava go with you. Do what you need to do. You can even have her run errands. She quickly had someone wake Ava, who was sleeping in. Ava blew up when she heard Mom. Mom, I'm his sister, not his little lackey. If you're worried about him, just send the driver. Why do I have to go with him? I'm not doing it. As she shouted, she glared at me. I side-eyed her, utterly disgusted. You think I want you tagging along? Mom's worried and insists. Mom, look at him. Ava pointed at me, furious. Chloe slapped her hand down. Like it or not, you're going. You said yourself you're Ethan's sister. Going out with your brother for one errand. And you have this many complaints? What are you trying to do? Chloe's face darkened. She looked at Ava sternly. Ava shrank under that look. Her attitude instantly wilted. It settled. Hurry up and eat. Ethan needs to go out. Teary and wronged, she went to get ready. In the car, she asked, where exactly are you going? Ava asked with a dark face. Free help was free. Why waste it? I ordered without guilt, drive on. I'll tell you where to turn. I was treating her like a driver. Ava was furious but helpless. She followed my directions, circling into stranger places and narrower roads. Even she was stunned. After living in Baybridge for years, she never knew Baybridge had places like this. Ava obediently parked outside an old, run-down complex. She sat in the driver's seat, looking outside. Deep confusion rose in her. All right, wait here. I got out, slammed the door, and walked off after that line. I gave Ava no chance to ask questions. She wanted to ask what I was doing, but my attitude made her livid. So she gave up in anger. I entered the complex smoothly and kept walking. I headed straight for one building. The old complex had little greenery and peeling walls. There wasn't even an elevator. The stairs were worn down too. I walked up to the 4th floor, turned left, and faintly heard crying. If I guessed right, it came from the Bennetts. I stood at their door and knocked. I needed an assistant fast. I was Greyhaven's young lord, so why was I doing everything myself? That didn't fit my status. The sounds inside stopped. Then footsteps approached. Soon, a voice behind the door asked, who is it? I'm Lily Bennett's friend. The room went quiet, then the door opened a crack. Someone peered out. Seeing how young I was, they lowered their guard. Were you Lily's coworker? I nodded. Only then did they open the door and let me in. Once inside, I didn't waste words. I know Lily was killed. Lily's parents weren't old, but losing her had aged them fast. Their hair had once been black. Now it was streaked with gray. Their wrinkles had deepened, and their eyes were full of grief, along with buried hatred. How do you know? How do you know Lily was killed? Do you know something? Please, tell us. Mrs. Bennett had been listless, but my words snapped her awake. She grabbed my hand. I can see Lily, and I can help you. Mr. and Mrs. Bennett froze, not understanding me. Their daughter was dead. What did he mean he could see her? They had refused cremation to find the truth, and kept their daughter at the morgue. Had this young man gone to the morgue? The absurd thought crossed their minds. I can see your daughter's soul. I can help fulfill your wish, I said. Mrs. Bennett stopped crying and stared at me through tears, dazed. Their wish, of course, was to expose whoever killed their daughter, and make the killer pay. No, that wasn't enough. If they only served a few years, that was far from enough. A few years in prison could never equal their Lily's life. Whoever killed Lily should pay a terrible price. Hatred surged in Mrs. Bennett's eyes. Whatever you want, I can make it happen. But you'll need to pay a small price. I made it clear. Besides merit, I also needed pure human love, truth, kindness, mercy, and loyalty. The rebirth gate leads to new life. Life means beginnings, hope, and joy. Death means endings, despair, and grief. Life and death form a cycle. Between them lies so much. Selfishness, greed, hypocrisy, and malice. I needed those virtues to cleanse resentment and keep it balanced. After hearing me, Mrs. Bennet didn't hesitate. Whatever you want, if you can really help us, I'll give you anything, even my life. I smiled. It doesn't have to go that far. I told them everything I'd learned from Lily, without holding anything back. After hearing it, the couple broke down again. I only sighed softly. Death and separation really are the hardest things to accept. Mrs. Bennet suddenly knelt, crying, and slammed her forehead to the floor. I want them to pay. I want them to live in regret forever. Beyond the hatred, Mr. and Mrs. Bennet were crushed by guilt. Why hadn't they noticed sooner? If they'd known her pain earlier, they would have helped her quit. They could have taken her away. Mr. Bennet tried to hold it in, but tears still streamed down. One hand covered his face, unable to hide his grief and regret. Same here. I want them to pay what they owe. I told the Bennets to wait for my news, then left the building. Through the car window, I saw Ava asleep, mouth half open. Clearly, she was out cold. My mouth twitched. And she's my sister? I'd reject her even as a little sister. I was about to knock and wake her, but stopped halfway. I was just wondering how to ditch Ava. Dragging her along was inconvenient. Since she was asleep, I might as well let her sleep. So I turned and walked off, while Ava slept soundly in the car. The Bennets' wish wasn't hard to grant. With my power, I could teach those people a lesson without anyone knowing. But that wasn't what they truly wanted. First, I had to expose the truth. Thinking of what Lily suffered, even I couldn't help sighing. If this didn't end right, who would ever dare do good again? Society really is going downhill. This world is developing fast. But human nature hasn't improved with the economy. It's only grown more selfish. Maybe this materialistic world brings out the ugliest side of people. I thought of my own past. When I was their age, I was already a grown man, ready to build a family and career. I could support a whole household. My expression froze. A trace of confusion crossed my face. My past. How long had it been since I last thought of it? Far too long. I'd almost forgotten. I wasn't always the young lord. I vaguely remembered being an ordinary person before that. I died and entered Greyhaven. It was too long ago. I'd forgotten how I became Greyhaven's young lord. The thought flashed by as my body slowly vanished. Passers-by didn't react. Everyone hurried on. No one noticed the young boy beside them vanish into thin air. I thought I'd finish fast, but I didn't expect it to drag on until late. Once busy, I even forgot Ava. When I finished, I went straight home. The living room felt off the second I walked in. It was stiff. Before I could speak, Chloe pulled me into a hug. Her voice was full of worry. "You're finally back. You scared me to death. I thought something happened to you." Mr. Hayes looked anxious too. He clearly relaxed when he saw me. He kept saying, "You're back. That's what matters." He'd been terrified, thinking his son had run off alone. I blinked and belatedly realized something. I was about to explain, but Ava had been scolded all night. After worrying all day, she yelled at me in rage. "Ethan, are you crazy? If you're going somewhere, can't you say so? Do you know we thought something happened? We searched for you all day." I shrank under her yelling. I was honestly a little guilty. "Shut up." Chloe held me and glared hard at her youngest daughter. "You must have upset Ethan. That's why he left without a word. You're always picking on Ethan. How many times have I told you? Ethan is your real brother. Your real brother." Ava was so mad at Mom's unfair logic she nearly passed out. "Mom, can you be reasonable? I didn't do anything today," Ava shouted. Seeing they were about to fight, I quickly stepped in. "Mom, don't be mad. Let me explain. This really isn't Ava's fault. She didn't do anything. She didn't even argue with me. Then why did you ditch her and leave alone? You haven't been here long and don't know the city well. Without someone with you, you could get lost. And Ethan barely knows how to use a phone. If he got lost, he wouldn't even know how to use GPS." I answered honestly. I went to handle something and had Ava wait in the car. When I came back and saw her asleep, I figured she got up too early and hadn't slept enough, so I let her sleep longer. That explanation was worse than no explanation. Was he doing this on purpose? I ignored her vicious glare and kept telling the truth. Then I left. I thought I'd be back fast. Maybe she still wouldn't be awake. I didn't expect it to run over and drag on until now. I didn't mean to get Ava scolded. I didn't expect this. Then why didn't you answer your phone? Ava kept grilling me. I reached into my cloth bag and pulled out my phone. I turned it over, confused. I didn't hear it ring. Chloe had bought me this phone. She reminded me before I left today, but I really heard nothing. Ava snatched it, woke the screen, and laughed from sheer anger. She shoved it in my face. Can't you check? Your phone's on silent. I looked at it and blinked innocently. I really don't know how to check. I'd never used a phone before. How would I know it can be muted? Ava wanted to keep going, but Chloe rapped her hard on the forehead. Ava clutched her forehead, yelping. If you hadn't fallen asleep in the car, would he have been so considerate and gone alone to avoid waking you? So it's all your fault. I told you to help and look at you. You slept like a rock in the car. Your allowance is gone this month. Chloe announced it on the spot. What? My allowance? It's only the third day of the month. Then Chloe looked at the other kids. She warned them. Anyone who secretly gives her money loses next month's allowance too. As for Grace, Chloe side-eyed her eldest daughter. If you dare give Ava money, I'll set you up on a blind date immediately. Grace's face changed, and she answered solemnly, Mom, don't worry. I won't. I'll watch the others too. I won't let them fund Ava. Grace, Ava wailed. Grace gave her a helpless, pitying look. Ava, don't blame me for being cruel. Better you than me. Ava, where did you and Ethan go today? Downstairs, Ryan hadn't dared go against Chloe. After everyone went back to their rooms, he secretly slipped out to find Ava. After comforting her, he asked like he was just curious. At the mention of me, Ava's anger flared. This real brother was born to jinx her. He was here to collect a debt. Still, for Ryan, she patiently told him everything. But she had no idea where I went later or what I did. Ryan frowned. Not only Ava. Even he didn't know what that place was. People like them usually only went to upscale places. They'd never go to a rundown place like that, let alone learn about it. He frowned and thought for a while, but came up empty and had to drop it. Back in his room, for some reason, he still couldn't let it go. Just then, Dylan called. After they chatted a bit, Ryan remembered Dylan's visit to the house and couldn't help mentioning it. To his surprise, Dylan cried out, did he go to Lily Bennett's place? Lily Bennett. The name landed like a blow, and Ryan went blank, his grip tightening on the phone. Why would he go to Lily's place? He doesn't know Lily. Dylan gritted his teeth. With no choice, he told Ryan what happened that day. Ryan gasped. His arms and legs went weak. He hadn't expected Dylan to be there that day. Dylan, did you? Ryan felt his throat tighten. After asking, his heart jumped into his throat. His mind raced. If Dylan really was tied to this, what should he do? Ryan hadn't been there that day, but now her parents had exposed the bullying. If anyone dug deeper, but he soon calmed down. He kept telling himself he had never bullied Lily. At most, Ryan quickly went over everything he'd done, checking for any obvious mistakes, or anything someone could use against him. Ryan, are you listening? Dylan had talked for ages without a reply, so he called out, confused. Ryan snapped back, steadied himself, and said, I'm listening. Dylan, what are you going to do? Lily's parents don't seem ready to drop it. If they, Dylan cut him off fast. Nothing will happen. Neither the school nor our parents want this blowing up. At most, they'll trot a few people out, have them apologize and pay some money. That's it. Besides, those college kids did it. We didn't do anything. Their parents won't want trouble, and the school has its image to protect. Ryan frowned hard. He felt it wasn't that simple. Dylan wasn't worried about the mall footage. He'd had it wiped long ago. No one would trace it. His dad had connections at the mall. Wiping the footage took one call. Even without that, no one would dare cross the Whitmores. I'm only worried Ethan knows something. That day, I was panicking when I ran into him in the hallway. The way he looked at me, and when he invited me to your house, the things he said, felt like he'd already decided something. That was why Dylan had been so on edge. Dylan didn't dare say much, even to Ryan. Once he said that. Ryan couldn't help thinking of what I'd said to him while we watched the news. His handsome face went pale. Maybe Ethan really had seen who did it. Even if he hadn't seen who, he must have seen them bullying her. If he said it out loud, just thinking of the fallout, made Ryan unable to sit still. He forced himself to calm down. Dylan, Ethan may really have seen something. That day he even asked me if I was involved in Lily Bennett's case. But he doesn't seem to have told my parents. Find a way to warn the others. Tell them they're on their own. Ryan's words made Dylan panic even more. He quickly ended the call and called his usual crew. Ryan clenched his teeth, thinking back and starting to regret it. So Lily helped that poor loser. So what? She could help once, not forever. Why did they have to keep going after her? Back then, he just found her righteous act unbearable. Like she was some hero and they were demons. So he said a few words to egg his classmates on. He only meant to teach her a lesson so she'd stop meddling. He never thought it would turn into this. Then he started blaming them. He'd only told them to get back at her a little, but they got hooked and kept hounding Lily. They were just picking on someone weak. They picked on someone weak, and now they'd broken her. And Lily too. If she hadn't said she recorded them and would expose them, he wouldn't have gotten carried away. Then Ryan started thinking about me. He thought I might have seen what happened at the mall, but couldn't know the whole story. Couldn't even use a phone. What could I possibly know? Nice thought. Reality was harsher. By the third day, the internet was flooded with reports. What terrified him even more was that the supposedly deleted security videos had all been leaked. Even old footage of them harassing and humiliating Lily was dug up. When he came downstairs, sure enough, I was on the couch watching TV. And the news was about this very case. Seeing the familiar footage, his breath caught and his knees went weak. Ryan was in a panic when Chloe walked over. Seeing him pale and leaning on the handrail, clearly off, she quickly asked, "Ryan, what's wrong? Why are you so pale? Are you sick?" Her voice caught my attention, and I turned to look. My eyes met Ryan's panicked gaze. Realizing something, I smiled knowingly. "Mom's asking you." Ryan's lips trembled. "Mom, I'm fine." Chloe gave him a strange look. Then she saw the news I was watching and asked with concern, "Ethan, you seem really focused on this story. Why?" I answered bluntly, "Aren't you and Dad planning to send me to this school? So I should learn more about the people and things tied to this school." Chloe jolted. Only then did one question hit her. Right? Students from this school did this. They even dared bully someone off campus. Then what about classmates on campus? Ethan was going to study there. What if? Chloe didn't dare think further. Though Mr. Hayes had just left, she immediately went to make calls. "No, you can't go to that school. And Ryan, you have to transfer too. At a school like that, they can't even keep students safe. Why study there? I'll transfer you both." Ryan was stunned. How did this turn into transferring? He'd never considered changing schools. He knew the school. His friends and circle were here. Switching now? They were already halfway through senior year. If he transferred now, how was he supposed to get into college? Ryan wanted to say something, but knew he probably couldn't change Chloe's mind. So he looked at me, hoping I'd speak up. As for which school I attended, I honestly didn't care. So I didn't even glance his way. Ryan had no choice but to watch Chloe make the call. After the Lily Bennett footage leaked, everyone moved fast. The school apologized right away and promised stronger moral education. The boba shop owner cried his eyes out, and most students involved came forward to apologize. They sobbed into the camera, looking full of regret. Lily stayed in my room, gritting her teeth as she watched the apology videos. They're not sincere at all. They don't think they did anything wrong. I nodded slightly. Yeah. Most of them aren't truly sorry, let alone regretful. If this hadn't been exposed, if people online hadn't reacted so fiercely and demanded answers, if public outrage hadn't blown up, they and their parents would never apologize. They wouldn't even care. Regret? For an ordinary girl already dead? She's dead. What else is there to talk about? Others can't see it, but I can. They speak with regret and sincerity on the surface, yet their eyes show indifference, even anger and resentment. Resentment toward the ones who forced them. This was humiliating to them. To them, Lily's life was worth less than their pride. Before she died, Lily was filled with grief, anger, and deep confusion. She truly couldn't understand what she had done wrong. Was it wrong to be kind and stand up for justice? She had only tried to help. Instead, they shut her out for no reason, using family power to crush her. They ruined her quiet life. That day at the mall, an argument broke out. She fell from upstairs. One crash and it was all over. Now they say they're sorry and beg for another chance. But who gives her one? They never gave her a chance. The more Lily thought about it, the harder her resentment was to control. The room temperature plunged, and cold gusts sent things swaying. I looked at the shaking chandelier and quickly calmed her down. "I'll let you vent in person." Like someone hit pause. The room went still. "Let me vent in person?" "No, I can't get close to them." Lily frowned. Of course she wanted revenge, but for some reason, she couldn't get near. She could only watch from afar. If she got too close, something blocked her. Otherwise, she'd have torn them apart. "You can't do it." "I can." They did guilty things. A ghost knocking at midnight is only fair. I said it calmly. Maybe guilt really was eating at them. After Lily died, a few of them really got scared. They started wearing charms, especially the one who caused her fall. They soon brushed it off, but deep down they were still guilty. He wore a blessed jade pendant. Lily had been gentle in life, so she couldn't become a vengeful ghost overnight or get close to them. That wasn't strange. But none of it worked on me. Lily instantly perked up. "If that's possible, of course that's best. But remember one thing, you can't directly hurt them. Sometimes death isn't revenge. It's release. If you take a life, you won't reincarnate smoothly. I warned her very seriously. Lily was a kind person. In life, she loved helping others, yet she met this tragic end. If nothing else went wrong, she'd have a good next life. But if she committed murder, that would change everything. No need to ruin your next life over trash like them. Lily bit her lip, unwilling. After a while, she nodded. Fine. I won't take their lives. I want them to live in fear. I flicked out a glowing talisman. It drifted onto Lily. Soon, it vanished. Before Lily could react, she felt something enter her soul, filling her with power. Go. You can't rush payback. Take it slow. If you can't handle something, call me. I'll come save you. Lily looked at me, moved to tears. This world had many bad people. They crushed her because she looked weak. But good people existed too. People online spoke up for her. Like me, they were strangers, yet still did all they could to help. Since I said she could vent, Lily didn't want to stay another second. Not another second. She soon vanished from my room. Only a few days passed between her fall and the exposure. At first, that person did panic. After all, someone had died. But that panic soon faded into indifference. People born into power because of the world they grow up in. And the education they receive easily form one wrong idea. They're above others, and ordinary people are beneath them. Money can solve anything. And if money can't, power can. Dylan didn't cause the fall, but he was there that day and had helped push Lily out. Dylan had been having a rough few days. He had just heard it from Ryan, and before he could do anything, the whole thing spiraled out of control. Only then did he tell his parents, and of course they chewed him out. But that calmed him down. His parents had scolded him, but they would never abandon him. With the Whitmore family's power, pulling him out of this mess would be easy. So Dylan wasn't worried now. He even figured he'd just transfer. Baybridge had plenty of good schools. He wasn't afraid of having nowhere to go. He sat against his headboard, focused on a variety show on his phone. Every so often, it made him laugh out loud. He looked completely unaffected. Lily floated into his room, and this was what she saw. Her anger shot through the roof. See? These people have no remorse. They'll never change. To them, people beneath their status are worth less than pets. Lily's anger and resentment surged. The crystal chandelier in Dylan's room immediately began to sway. It even flickered a few times. A few electric buzzes sounded, like the chandelier was malfunctioning. Dylan jumped at the sudden noise. He looked up at the chandelier and muttered, "What's going on? Is the light broken?" He watched it for a while. When it returned to normal, he ignored it. But the second he looked back at his phone, the lights started flickering again with faint electric buzzing. He still didn't think much of it. He got out of bed to test the switch, then broke into a cold sweat. The switch had completely stopped working. The light turned off by itself, then turned back on by itself. And his window was clearly shut, yet wind seemed to blow through the room, bringing a chill. For some reason, he suddenly thought of Lily. His face changed, and he turned by reflex to open the door. But no matter how hard he tried, the perfectly fine door wouldn't open. 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 Somebody. Help me. Somebody. Dylan couldn't hold back his fear and screamed. His screams were truly chilling. It was late at night and everyone else in the Whitmore villa felt their hearts race in fright. They rushed to his room. Mr. Whitmore pounded on the door. "Dylan, what happened? Open the door. What are you doing in there? It won't open. There's a ghost. Dad, help me." Dylan cried, trembling. He kept pounding on the door, the fear in his voice passing through it. Clearly reached everyone outside. "Nonsense. Calm down. There are no ghosts. Stop scaring yourself. Is the lock jammed? Calm down and check. I'll have someone get the key." Mr. Whitmore said that, then exchanged a look with Mrs. Whitmore. Both thought of recent events. Mr. Whitmore's face darkened. He was angry and worried. Dylan probably had a guilty conscience and scared himself. Good thing the Whitmores lived in a detached villa with space between homes. Otherwise, with him screaming like that, the whole neighborhood would have heard. A maid soon found the key, but no matter how they turned it, the lock wouldn't open. Dylan kept screaming inside, along with sharp cracking sounds, like light fixtures shattering. After one final crash, the door that wouldn't open finally gave way. The Whitmores rushed in. They found total chaos. The once luxury room had decorations knocked all over. The bedside lampshade hung crooked, and the curtains were a mess. The crystal chandelier had fallen from the ceiling, shards scattered everywhere, and one corner of the rug was flipped up. The Whitmores were stunned. Then they saw Dylan passed out behind the door, cold sweat beading on his forehead. Everyone carried him out in a panic and quickly called a doctor. After examining him, the doctor looked puzzled. "Dylan seems badly frightened. Did something terrifying happen to him? The Whitmore's faces all shifted. Mr. Whitmore forced a smile. Honestly, we're not sure either. He was in his room. We thought he was asleep. Then we heard him scream. When we went in, he'd already passed out. What could they say? That their son felt guilty, scared himself, and claimed he saw a ghost? Dylan could embarrass himself, but the Whitmores couldn't. The doctor didn't overthink it. He's fine. But the wound on his forehead is serious. It may leave a scar. The Whitmores' faces changed at once. After the doctor left, Dylan soon woke up, but he was clearly terrified. Before he was fully awake, he fell into a nightmare. No, go away. It wasn't me. I didn't hurt you. I didn't push you. Go away. Don't come for me. His eyes were still shut tight, but his hands kept flailing, his face full of terror. Mrs. Whitmore's face changed when she heard him. Dylan, wake up. It's okay. You're having a nightmare. Wake up. She anxiously patted his face, but he didn't respond. Finally, she steeled herself and slapped him. That finally woke him. Dylan opened his eyes and saw his mother, then burst into tears. He threw himself into her arms and clutched her clothes, shaking all over. Mom, there's a ghost. I saw her. It was Lily Bennett. She's back to settle the score. She said I killed her and told me to pay with my life. I said I didn't, but she wouldn't believe me. She tried to choke me. He had never known ghosts were real. He had seen what happened in that room. None of it made sense. And he really had seen her. She wore the outfit from that day. It really was Lily's ghost. Dylan, you're confused. There are no ghosts. You're scaring yourself. Stop overthinking. Don't worry about that case. Nothing will happen. Our family can handle it. No one can hurt you. Be good and stop thinking about it. It'll pass in a few days. Mrs. Whitmore looked awful. His words had scared her too. Still, she held him steady and soothed him. Maybe his mother's arms felt safe, because he slowly calmed down. To fully convince him, Mrs. Whitmore half coaxed, half forced him to go look. She dragged him there. The staff had already cleaned the room, so it wasn't as messy as before. See? The chandelier just wasn't installed right and fell. As for the rest, you left the window cracked. Didn't you notice the wind today? Of course it could move things. And you call yourself educated, Mrs. Whitmore scolded gently. She tapped his forehead. Her face gave nothing away. She looked completely natural. Dylan started to waver, wondering if he'd overthought it. Maybe he was just jumpy and scaring himself. Stop scaring yourself. Sleep in the guest room tonight. Tomorrow I'll have someone clean this up. We won't reinstall the crystal chandelier. It's too dangerous. Dylan hesitantly let her lead him back. Dylan, what are you talking about? Did you watch a horror movie and psych yourself out? Is that why you think there's a ghost? Ryan never expected Dylan to call him over for something this absurd. He saw Lily Bennett's ghost? How was that possible? In just one night, Dylan had become listless, and even a little neurotic. He looked around in panic, then lowered his voice nervously. No, Ryan. It's real. Everything I'm saying is true. I really saw her ghost last night. She was in my room and trashed the place. She said I killed her and came to settle the score. Later, after I fell asleep, my blanket suddenly floated in midair. I saw it myself. Dylan's eyes were terrified. His scalp prickled as he talked about last night. Last night, his mother had convinced him. After the guest room stayed quiet for a long time, he relaxed and fell asleep. But then he felt cold. He was under a thick down comforter, and Baybridge wasn't that cold. When the cold woke him, he opened his eyes and saw the blanket over him, floating in midair. He screamed on instinct. But this time, no one came. His screams seemed blocked off. No matter how he yelled, no one came. He was so scared he hid under the bed. But it was useless. Lily's voice echoed in the room, like it came from hell. He didn't know how he survived it. Dylan had dark circles under his eyes, terrified and wound tight. The slightest noise could send him running. Ryan frowned hard. He thought Dylan's story was impossible, but Dylan didn't look like he was lying. For a moment, Ryan couldn't decide. While he hesitated, Dylan stared at him strangely and said in a hollow voice, Ryan, if Lily came for me, she won't let you off either. Ryan's heart jumped. He snapped back in a low voice. Dylan, are you insane? Ghosts aren't real. Snap out of it. Besides, her accident had nothing to do with you. And even less to do with me. Dylan's face went blank. He murmured, right? I didn't make her fall. So why come after me? That day, he had only suggested an idea. He didn't force her. If anyone was to blame, it was her own carelessness. She was already dead. So why scare him? The more Dylan thought, the bolder and uglier he got. His twitchy eyes turned vicious, filled with ruthless resolve. Fine. She wants to haunt me? I'll hire someone to exorcise her. I'll scatter her soul so she can't even be a ghost. Once he had that idea, Dylan couldn't sit still. He dropped one line and rushed off. But Dylan was being too hopeful. The Whitmores didn't believe him at all. They thought he had a serious mental issue. Mrs. Whitmore could only keep soothing him. She never mentioned hiring anyone for rites. High society did care about feng shui and hired masters to arrange things, but only for wealth and luck. Ghosts were pure nonsense. Just as Dylan grew more anxious, another terrible thing happened, completely shattering his sanity. Even Ryan got so scared he fell ill. The classmate who led the bullying suddenly became gravely ill. She was rushed to the ER overnight. They revived her, but her mind completely broke. All day, she curled up in bed, muttering, "I was wrong." Her parents were shattered and insisted someone had killed their daughter. They claimed Lily's parents did it, but the check proved that impossible. The Bennetts lived far away. A direct drive took an hour, and they had an alibi. They'd never even been near that area. No outsider had entered the room, and the alarm system was intact. Lily was just an ordinary worker, but her sudden death caused a huge stir. It became one of the hottest topics, touching power and wealth gaps. That made it even hotter. The rich kids' parents tried spending money to kill the trend, but each time it bounced higher and leaked more. Scared, they had to stop and go silent. So even days later, people were still talking online. Now that that student was dead, the news spread at once. Compared with the sympathy for Lily, there was no sympathy for that classmate. People saw it clearly. She got what she deserved. She indirectly got someone killed. Now it's a life for a life. Why should an apology let her move on? Exactly. So cold-blooded at that age. Lily's spirit can rest now. Lily cried uncontrollably. I sat quietly beside her and watched. I didn't comfort her. All right, your wish is done. Time to move on. The one who made you fall was scared to death. Lily never actually touched her. She died of fear because of her own guilt. The innocent don't scare easily. Guilty people see ghosts everywhere. Lily couldn't stay in the mortal world too long. She slowly stopped crying. She looked up at me quietly and asked in a pleading whisper, "Can I see my parents?" I looked at her and firmly refused. "No need. Your parents have finally made it through. If you see them now, you'll tear the wound open and make them bleed again." Lily froze, then lowered her eyes and realized I was right. "But I can let you enter their dream. Say goodbye there." Lily was thrilled and grateful. She thanked me and I said bluntly, "We're just getting what we need." Lily knew I helped her for payment. Just like I said, we each got what we needed. I punished the wicked for her and dissolved her deep resentment. Her parents no longer had to face the powerful alone or risk revenge at any moment. She could leave in peace. That night, Mr. and Mrs. Bennett slept deeply. Since their daughter's accident, it was their first peaceful sleep. In their dream, they saw their daughter. She looked sweet, just as in life, smiling brightly as she said she had to go. She told them to take care and said a master had helped her get justice. Somehow, the couple thought of the boy who claimed to be her friend. That boy who said he was her friend. They urgently asked their daughter, but she said nothing. She only smiled and said goodbye with reluctance. Then she vanished from the dream. Tears slid from the couple's eyes in their sleep. They knew their daughter had truly left. Maybe there really was a better next life. Their daughter would have a good next life. She would grow up safe and sound, and make up for every regret in this life. Though she never confirmed it, they felt the master she mentioned was the young boy who came that day. That meant he was no ordinary person. When they woke, they wondered how to thank him. But I appeared in their home again. The moment they saw me, they moved to kneel. They wanted to thank me for granting their daughter's wish. I stopped them. "Do you remember what I said? My help requires payment. Now it's time for me to collect. Are you willing to pay?" "Yes, we are. Anything we have, we'll give you." The couple said it with deep sincerity. I saw kindness in their eyes. I smiled and nodded. "Good. Now close your eyes. Silently think of the greatest payment you can give me." The couple looked at each other. Without asking or hesitating, they slowly closed their eyes. Their hearts were filled with pure devotion. Soon I watched from above their heads. As a pure golden glow rose, I smiled in satisfaction. This was the merit they'd built. The purer the light, the truer the gratitude. And they had offered the most they could. This was the final payment I wanted. I took out a delicate blessing pouch and lightly waved my hand. 2 streaks of gold slipped into it. After tying it shut, I said lightly, "All right, I've received your payment. You're good, kind people, because you have kind hearts, and built merit through good deeds." Lily was able to meet me. The couple froze. Mrs. Bennett couldn't help blurting out, "If that's true, then why did our daughter still?" I looked at her quietly. Lily was fated to face this calamity. She did die young in this life, but because of your good deeds, She can reincarnate smoothly, and her next family will be even better. As you wish, she'll grow up safely, marry, and have children, then live happily and die peacefully of old age. Is that true? Mrs. Bennet's eyes lit up. Of course. I never lie. That's good. That's good. Mrs. Bennet choked up. Before leaving, I wanted to say something, but swallowed it back. It felt unnecessary. Mr. and Mrs. Bennet had done good for years. They had lost a beloved child, and in the end, they would receive one too. Lily's leaving hurt, but it also meant a different kind of rebirth. When I got home, they were seeing a doctor out. I raised a brow. Ryan had fallen sick and stayed bedridden. Several doctors had come with no change. The Hayes family was frantic. Of course, that did not include me. Chloe came downstairs, frowning hard. When she saw me, her face eased a little. Ethan, you're back. Did you finish your errand? If something's wrong, tell Mom. Don't bottle it up alone. Mom, it's done. Everything went pretty smoothly. Good. Chloe nodded softly. Her eyes were heavy with worry. Ryan was sick now. Nothing could happen to Ethan too, and no one knew what was wrong with Ryan. He had been fine, then suddenly fell ill. The hospital found nothing wrong. They had changed doctors, given him medicine and even shots, but nothing helped. It was driving everyone crazy. Mom, what did the doctor say? Seeing me ask about Ryan, Chloe looked pleased, thinking I was cold outside but cared about my brother. Same thing. They say he's emotionally blocked. But how is that possible? What could be eating at a kid like Ryan so badly he'd collapse? I think these doctors just aren't good enough. If this had happened right after Ryan learned the truth, she might believe it. But it had been over a month and he'd been fine. So this sudden illness clearly had another cause, yet Ryan couldn't explain it. I smiled knowingly. Maybe the doctors aren't wrong. Maybe something is eating at him. Some wounds need the right cure. Chloe froze. Eating at him? But what would Ryan be hiding? I smiled, all innocent. Then you'd have to ask what he's done. Chloe looked at me suspiciously. Ethan, do you know something? It wasn't that I cared about Ryan. What happened to him had nothing to do with me. But with him sick at home, the whole house was in chaos. Mom and Dad were worried sick. Just look at Mom's well-kept eyes. Fine lines had appeared from all the stress. I paused and said softly, Mom, did you see the news online? The mall incident we ran into. Of course, Chloe remembered. She had been following it. It had blown up after all. But wasn't it already handled? The girl had slipped by accident, and the mall footage came out after the culprit died of fright. The public was in an uproar. She even knew the girl's parents. They weren't close, but she never expected this. Even their company was affected now. She heard they were getting ready to move. After learning the details, she could only sigh. But what does that have to do with Ryan? I said casually, Dylan is worse than Ryan now. He keeps saying he sees that worker's ghost. Dylan was there at the mall that day too. He just got lucky and stayed in the back. The cameras barely caught him. So when that classmate died, he nearly scared himself to death too. Chloe's heart jolted. Once she understood, her eyes widened in disbelief. I didn't directly say Ryan was involved, but Chloe could judge for herself. Dylan and Ryan were close friends in the same school and class. Could Ryan really know nothing about Dylan's ugly behavior? How could that be possible? Chloe clearly understood that too. Her face darkened at once. I stopped there and said no more. That night, after Mr. Hayes came home, Chloe told him about it. He was shocked too. After all, in his mind, Ryan had always been sweet and sensible. How could he do something like this? But thinking of Ryan's odd behavior these past few days, Mr. Hayes' heart sank. They went to Ryan's room. Seeing them come in, Ryan forced himself to sit up. Mom, Dad, why are you here? Is something wrong? Ryan looked terrible. His face was unnaturally pale, and his eyes were bloodshot. His tired eyes looked forced open. He didn't look sick for a few days. He looked like he'd been ill for ages. Mr. Hayes sat down, deadly serious. He looked at Ryan sternly. Ryan, we need to ask you something. Answer honestly. Ryan's heart froze. He instinctively looked at Chloe and saw the same serious look. Confusion and panic rose in him. Still, he nodded lightly. Okay, ask. Were you involved in that incident? He asked it straight out, catching Ryan off guard. Because it was so sudden, Ryan had no time to hide his face. They saw it clearly. His expression said everything. Deep disappointment filled their eyes. Their sweet, kind son was actually like this in private. It disappointed them deeply. They didn't remember teaching him this. Chloe was even more disappointed and heartbroken. She had never taken his upbringing lightly. She often checked on every part of his life. When things came up, she used them to teach him right values and morals. She hadn't dumped everything on tutors like many rich families did. So why would Ryan do this? Why would he ostracize a classmate? Even after adults found out, he didn't stop until an accident happened. Meeting their disappointed eyes, Ryan knew he couldn't hide it anymore. All the panic, fear, worry, and dread he'd held in burst out. He burst into tears and soon sobbed so hard he could barely breathe. He cried while defending himself. "Dad, Mom, I let you down. I know I was wrong. I really do. I never thought it would end like this. I didn't do anything to Ms. Bennett. I didn't know she would end up like that." "You're saying you didn't know?" Mr. Hayes was too angry to speak. Did he not know whether something wrong should be done? Was he 3 years old? He was 17 and had been in school for over 10 years. Did he not even have basic morals? Why did you do this? Was all that sweetness and good behavior in front of us fake? Why did you shut someone out? Ryan bit his lip, eyes shifting, too scared to say what was really in his heart. He knew that jealousy was wrong, but he couldn't control it. Since childhood, he had always been excellent, the brightest one in the crowd. He was the moon surrounded by stars. But that classmate stole his spotlight and took his #1 spot. "You're still not telling the truth?" Chloe snapped, furious. Ryan kept shaking, his pale lips trembling. He shamefully explained why, his voice dropping lower and lower. Chloe wished she could pass out. What was she hearing? Just because someone was better than him, he got jealous? So he urged his friends to freeze her out, and when caught, he still didn't stop. He even used his family status to threaten her. He was jealous of her grades, so why not work harder to beat her? Why use dirty tricks to hurt people? She stared at Ryan in shock, like this son was a stranger. Did she not know her son well enough? Or had she never known him at all? She couldn't help doubting herself. Chloe's look scared Ryan. He threw himself into her arms, clung to her waist, and cried out, "Mom, I'm sorry. I really didn't mean to. I didn't know it would turn into this. At first, I just wanted to embarrass her. I never meant to hurt anyone. Really. What they did later, I really wasn't involved. I didn't know about the mall that day either. Dylan never told me. I only found out after it blew up. By then, it was too late. If I'd been there, I would have stopped it. I didn't want to hurt anyone. Dad, I really know I was wrong. I never thought it would turn out like this. I won't ever do it again. I'll never envy anyone again. I'll work hard and do better. Mom, Dad, please believe me." Ryan's voice was urgent and pleading. He wasn't a Hayes by blood. Now he was only an adopted son. He couldn't let them lose all faith in him. If they were disappointed in him, would they stop wanting him? Would they send him away? Where would he even go? Ryan was already terrified. The classmates involved had met strange ends, and the one who caused the fall had died of fright. His nerves were stretched thin. His mind had hit its limit. Now that Mr. and Mrs. Hayes knew, thoughts of being kicked out kept flashing through his head. Regret, fear, panic, and despair all rushed over him at once. He hadn't slept well in days, so in that panic, he couldn't catch his breath and fainted. The Hayes home fell into chaos again. Everyone rushed to Ryan's room, except me. Ava muttered a few angry complaints, and Chloe heard every word. Chloe was already furious. Hearing her daughter side with Ryan against her son sent her anger through the roof. She snapped, "Why are you always picking on Ethan? He's your real brother, not your enemy. And is Ethan a doctor? What difference would it make if he came?" Chloe was actually a tolerant mom. She often acted like she'd punish the kids, but everyone knew it was just a scare. She rarely scolded them like this, so Ava was stunned. Grace and the twins had just gotten back, and they looked at each other, all wondering the same thing. Had something happened at home? The Hayes sisters sensed the odd mood. At first, they only suspected trouble. Now they were basically sure. The only one unaffected was me. I went on with my life, glued to TV shows all day. They'd said they'd hire tutors for me, but now that was on hold. Everyone else had heavy homework. For me, besides watching TV, only meals could get me off the couch. "Ethan, you've been home all day. Did something happen in the family?" Grace was busy at the company, so she sometimes missed things at home. "If anything happens here, remember to tell me." Grace finally had a day off but still worked half the day in the study. When she came down and saw me watching TV, she paused, then sat beside me. I didn't even move my eyes. "Nothing's wrong at home. Everything's fine." "Really nothing?" Mom and Dad seem troubled these days. "Is it about your schooling?" Since I wouldn't say, she had to test me herself. I'd been back for over a month, but Grace still didn't know her brother well. I granted her one look, though that look wasn't exactly normal. "Why assume it's because of me? You think if something happens at home, it must be my fault? That's not what I meant. I know you're very well behaved." "No, I'm not." Grace felt deeply exhausted. "If you want to know, ask Mom and Dad. I don't want someone twisting my words later and driving a wedge between you." I turned back to the TV. Grace raised a brow. That sounded strange. Could it be Ryan? Thinking of the last 2 nights, Grace frowned. Before she found a chance to ask, Lunar New Year arrived. The Hayes family's mood finally recovered. Ryan, sick for days, got better, though he became much quieter. This was my first New Year with the Hayes family. Mr. Hayes and Chloe took it seriously and had people start preparing early. The careful decorations and New Year's Eve dinner menu were all thoughtfully planned. Everything revolved around me. Everything revolved around me. As for everyone else, they'd already had so many New Years. So what if this year went to Ethan? Wasn't that only right? On Lunar New Year's Eve, the house was lively, as if the earlier gloom had never existed. Mr. Hayes and Chloe's attitude toward Ryan didn't really change either. After that day, they talked once, then never brought it up again. It was my first Lunar New Year in the mortal world, so everything felt new. I became truly happy. I smiled more, and even seemed less sharp. I didn't even roast Ava. That made Chloe and Mr. Hayes overjoyed. After New Year, the family prepared to return to the capital. The Hayes family's roots were in the capital, and old Mrs. Hayes lived there too. As her son, Mr. Hayes was expected to take the kids there for New Year's visits. Otherwise, people would talk. Usually, each family spent New Year's Eve separately. Unless something special happened, then they'd gather in the capital for the reunion dinner. And since I had just come back, they should take me to the capital to meet everyone. Besides the 3 Hayes siblings, the family had other collateral relatives, and they still kept in touch. On the second day of the new year, we packed up and left. We flew back to the capital on our private jet. My first flight had me curious. On the plane, I pressed myself to the window and stared outside. Chloe found it hilarious. Ava opened her mouth to mock me, but Chloe shot her one look, and she wisely shut up. Once we reached the capital, the Hayes family had someone pick us up. We got in and headed straight for the old Hayes estate. Before we left, Chloe had explained. The messy family ties here. I just nodded slightly. I didn't waste words. When we reached the old Hayes estate, I instinctively looked around. The Hayes family had stood in the capital for a century. The ancestral home had been repaired over time, slowly becoming what it was now. It wasn't a European-style villa rich people liked, but a traditional estate. A square, sprawling courtyard house, thick with history. Generations of Hayeses had kept it in great shape. I heard a master had chosen the site and layout back then. Before he died, the family head left a will forbidding descendants from moving the estate, touching the foundation lightly, or selling the old home. Repairs had to build on what was there. Break that rule and you lost inheritance rights. Because of that rule, the estate technically hadn't changed much. Only the structures above had changed. I could tell the estate truly blessed its descendants. Years of gathered fortune showed as faint purple aura above the house. But it was also starting to decline. That meant the estate's protection was fading. The estate didn't seem touched. So the problem had to be the descendants. My lips curved slightly. Now this was interesting. Happy New Year. Once inside, that was the first greeting. Mr. Hayes's family wasn't the only one here. His married older sister had brought her family too. Oh, this must be Ethan. I'm so sorry. Something came up last time, so I couldn't go to Baybridge. Don't blame your aunt. Okay? Aunt Margaret noticed me at once. The new face standing beside Chloe. I had to be her younger brother's returned son. Hello, Aunt Margaret. I'm Ethan Hayes. I put on a sweet look. Aunt Margaret smiled at me, quietly sizing me up. You really look like your parents. I'm their son. Of course I look like them. Aunt Margaret's smile seemed to pause. Then she said casually, true. So this is the cousin from the mountain temple. He looks so rustic. Nothing like the Hayes family's young master. A boy about my age. Jumped right beside Aunt Margaret and stared me up and down. He was incredibly rude, his tone full of open contempt. Chloe's face darkened. Aunt Margaret quickly grabbed her son. She gave him a soft, harmless scold. Watch your mouth. I looked him over even more critically, full of disgust. You grew up with your parents, pampered and spoiled. But judging by your manners, you don't seem any better than me. Aunt Margaret and her son's faces changed. Preston Walker flushed with anger. He hadn't expected me to go so off-script. Didn't most people swallow this kind of thing? Why talk back in public? Chloe was thrilled inside, but on the surface, she copied Aunt Margaret's move. You child, watch your mouth. I answered flatly. I was copying him. I thought capital heirs all talked like that. Ava fought back laughter beside us. Before, she was always the one I roasted. Today, it was finally someone else. Seeing me roast him speechless made her way too happy. This cousin was close to Ryan, but she just didn't like him. Ryan was a Hayes young master too, pampered and adored. Yet he wasn't this rude and overbearing. Preston was also selfish, like the whole world revolved around him. At family gatherings as kids, Preston didn't dare bother Grace too much. But everyone else was different. They were forced to be his toys. Whatever he wanted, they had to give in. If not, he'd throw a fit. When he caused trouble, he'd blame the sisters, making them take the fall. After growing up, he learned to play victim, making them sick of him. Now someone could finally handle him. Chloe shot her daughter a look, telling her to rein it in. Then she turned to Aunt Margaret apologetically. Margaret, sorry. Ethan is wonderful, just too blunt. Don't take it to heart. Then she turned and scolded me. Capital heirs have good manners. Your cousin was just joking. Don't be petty and take it seriously. Aunt Margaret was furious. So if her son took it seriously, he was petty? Preston had never faced this before. He stomped his foot and ran off upset. When no one was watching, Ava lowered her voice and praised me. Nice. Don't spoil him. I gave her a flat look. I'm not his parent. Of course I won't spoil him. That made total sense. Why hadn't she thought of that when he used to push them around? Aside from Aunt Margaret's family, I'd met the main Hayes relatives at the banquet, but I barely interacted with my cousins. We only introduced ourselves. Victoria Morgan and Richard Hayes had 3 sons. The second and youngest were close in age to Ava. The eldest was already married to a wealthy heiress from the capital. Aunt Margaret and Frank Walker had only one son, Preston Walker. With everyone gathered, there were plenty of people and it felt lively. Old Mrs. Hayes kept smiling. Ryan, why have you gotten so thin? Old Mrs. Hayes pulled Ryan close, looked him over and frowned. Ryan touched his face and was about to deny it, but she turned to Chloe. She accused her unhappily. Even if Ryan's identity was mixed up, he was raised by the Hayes family for years. You can't mistreat him over blood. Chloe's face darkened. What did she mean they mistreated Ryan? When had they ever done that? Seeing Chloe's face change, Ryan hurried to explain. Grandma, no. Mom and Dad treat me very well. I caught a cold and fever a while ago. This winter, so I got sick when I wasn't careful. Mom and Dad are very good to me. Grandma, please don't misunderstand. If Ryan had said it naturally like before in that spoiled tone, old Mrs. Hayes would have believed him. But because of Lily Bennett, a huge knot had stayed in his heart. He felt Mom and Dad must be disappointed in him. So he became overly cautious. Rushing to explain should have been good, but to others it looked like something else. It only made him look guiltier. Old Mrs. Hayes held Ryan's hand. Ryan, don't overthink it. You are still a young master of the Hayes family. I'll say this right now. If anyone gives you trouble, call Grandma. I'll stand up for you. As she spoke, she gave me a pointed glance. I noticed, but I didn't care at all. I didn't find it strange. Ryan wasn't a Hayes by blood, but he'd been raised here for over 10 years. The feelings from all those years were real, and that love had been returned. That couldn't be taken back overnight. Blood matters, but years of love matter too. Like I said, as long as Ryan doesn't mess with me, I won't ruin anything. As for petty jealousy, please, what's that? What are you talking about? Who's bullying Ryan? He was sick recently. It dragged on, so he hasn't filled back out yet. Mr. Hayes disliked his mother's words. She kept taking shots at Ethan. If they meant to mistreat Ryan, why keep him here? Just to make life harder? Ryan looked at old Mrs. Hayes, pleading. Mom and Dad are really good to me. Don't blame them. He should be grateful he got to stay. After all, he wasn't the real heir. All right, don't get upset. Your grandma just worries about you. She talks about you all day. If school weren't starting soon, she'd keep you here longer. Seeing the mood sour, Victoria quickly stepped in. Old Mrs. Hayes didn't press it either. She stroked Ryan's head, eyes full of love. You'll take college entrance exams next year. Apply to a university in the capital. Then you can stay at the Hayes estate. Ryan looked to Chloe, as if asking her opinion. Chloe frowned. As for college applications, hadn't they discussed it already? It was all up to Ryan. Still, she went along with old Mrs. Hayes. Your grandma is right. A capital school makes it easier to help you. Ryan was happy at first, then doubt crept in. Was Mom really disappointed? Did she not love him anymore? Was she pushing him to study in the capital so he'd be far from home? So he wouldn't show up at home so often? His mood sank, but he didn't dare show it. He could only force a smile. Good thing he lowered his head, or who knew what everyone would think. Mr. Hayes's family stayed in the capital for 2 days. Chloe wanted to show me around, since I'd never been to the capital. The capital had plenty to see and eat. For New Year, temple visits were common. Most locals did it. There was also a huge temple fair. It was bound to be lively. By the 3rd day, Richard Hayes got interested too. He called his family, saying since they rarely gathered, they should all go. More people, more fun. So the whole group set off in 2 vans. Who knew what Preston was thinking? But he tagged along and dragged Ryan into Uncle Richard's car, kicking Richard's youngest son out. Molly Hayes was a bit guileless and bad at sweet-talking people. You could tell she was an honest, simple girl. She'd gotten along with Ava since childhood. Watching them chat like close friends, I gave them a meaningful look. Birds of a feather, sure enough. Ava was a total goofball herself, so of course she'd get along with Molly, another goofball. Ava noticed my look and glanced at me, confused. What is he up to now? It's New Year. Please don't get me scolded again. I quickly looked away. We went to the capital's most famous temple. It was over 300 years old. Through dynastic changes and wars, it had luckily survived, and was remarkably well preserved. The Buddha statue in the main hall had sat there for 3 centuries, unchanged, watching the world with merciful eyes. I walked into the hall with zero guilt. I knelt on a cushion with everyone else, closed my eyes, and prayed silently. May I earn enough merit soon to return to Greyhaven and reopen the rebirth gate. After a while, I opened my eyes and met the Buddha's merciful gaze. I paused. Why did the statue's eyes feel off? I wondered if I was just guilty. Maybe that made the statue seem strange. I stared at it without blinking, trying to see if I was the problem. Ethan, don't stare at the Buddha like that. You'll offend it. After Chloe finished praying, she noticed her son, kneeling perfectly straight, but his eyes were way too bold. They were fixed right on the statue ahead. I looked away. Mom, don't you think its eyes are strange? Chloe glanced over casually, then quickly looked away. She smiled and scolded gently. You silly child, what are you thinking? Buddha statues all look like this. There's nothing strange about it. This Buddha in the main hall is over 300 years old. It was made when the temple was built. It has never changed. How could anything be strange? Thinking of how her son grew up in a Taoist temple, Chloe comforted me softly. There are more Buddhist temples now, but Taoist temples still exist. I'll take you to one sometime. If I weren't Greyhaven's prince, that suggestion would have scared me. I'm not a ghost, but I am from the underworld. Buddhas and immortals aren't exactly my crowd. I'd better avoid places like this. We're not on the same path. Before getting up, I couldn't help looking again. The eyes still felt wrong. At first glance, they looked merciful, but look again, and there was something creepy. It didn't feel right. More like, after leaving the hall, I set the doubt aside. Maybe I really was overthinking it. This temple statue had stood for 3 centuries and received endless incense. If anything was wrong, all that worship should have purified it. Chloe had been to this temple several times. The scenery was lovely. The capital had heavy snow before New Year. It stayed cold, so the snow hadn't melted. Perfect for mountain views. The mention of snow got me interested. I'd never actually seen snow. I probably hadn't. Anyway, I couldn't remember how long I'd been in Greyhaven. Before that, I probably hadn't either. Or why would I have zero memory of it? Chloe watched me walking ahead, starting to bounce a little. Gone was my usual old soul calm at home. Only now did I look like a young boy, watching her lively son. A loving smile curved Chloe's lips. Her eyes were full of love, but deep down, she still had regrets. She had missed her son's childhood. The Hayes sisters found it new. They'd thought their brother was a stiff little old man. Turns out he really was still a kid. As for why he was calmer than most adults, no need to think hard. Ava felt a rush of sisterly love and decided to cut him more slack. After all, she was his 4th sister. As they walked, Ava got playful. She bent down and scooped up snow. She packed it into a snowball and threw it at me up ahead. It hit me right on the body. I stopped. I turned with a stern little face. The other 3 Hayes sisters all pointed at her, claiming they were innocent. I narrowed my eyes at Ava, getting bold. Huh? You dare hit me with snow? Ava kept tossing snow at me, taunting me. I stared at her, then suddenly smiled, showing my white teeth. I wore a white knit hat. 2 fluffy balls hung from it, and the brim had a cute trim. When I smiled, my little face looked soft and chubby, like a tiny kitten grinning wide. The 4 sisters felt their hearts jolt. It felt warm and tingly, and they wanted to squish my cheeks. So their little brother was this cute? Compared with my usual old soul act, that contrast was deadly cute. I had no idea one smile had ruined my image. From then on, the 4 sisters remembered me as secretly adorable. Ava froze too, then scratched her head. She felt like he might be even cuter than Ryan. As she thought that, a white lump flew at her face. She dodged fast, but still failed. The snow hit her right in the face. She froze, thinking she should have dodged it. I put my hands on my hips and laughed smugly. That's for hitting me. You thought you could dodge? Dream on. Chloe stood nearby with her fists clenched, cheering her son on. Ethan, great shot. Beautiful. Your 4th sister needs a beating. Pelt her good. As long as you don't kill her, it's fine. Mom, am I still your daughter? Ava cried in despair. Chloe shot her a disgusted look. I wish you weren't, but you look too much like me. so you probably weren't switched. Ava felt like her heart had been stabbed. Aren't you afraid he'll hurt me? She asked, refusing to give up. Chloe waved a hand. That would only prove you're useless. What's a little snow going to do? It's not like it can injure you. If it really does, it only proves you're too weak. People will laugh at you. As she spoke, I packed another snowball and threw it at her. I'd wanted to teach Ava a lesson for ages. All height, no brains. A couple of lines could set her off. Who knew what she'd be used to do later? Usually, I couldn't be bothered with her. But today she asked for it. So I wouldn't hold back. I'd teach her a lesson first. So Ava and I started messing around. At first, she thought she was bigger and stronger. How could she lose a snowball fight to a little boy? She wanted to blow off steam. But who knew? Reality was brutal. She got completely crushed and ended up running around with her head covered. Worse, her 3 heartless sisters only watched the show. Not one of them helped her. In this family of 8, maybe she was the one they picked up. What are you doing? Ava and I stopped. Ava secretly breathed a sigh of relief. So embarrassing. She'd lost a snowball fight to her little brother. It was Ryan and Preston. Everyone had come together. After praying, they'd split up. Preston insisted on dragging Ryan along, so Ryan left with him. Now they had run into us. Seeing Ava's messy state, her nice clothes dirted by snow, her hair full of snow like a bird's nest, then looking at me, clean from head to toe, Ryan grew unhappy. Ethan, how could you pelt Ava like that? Ava knew this was bad and quickly tried to explain before I spoke. But I gave her no time. If you hadn't yelled, I would have hit her harder. Besides, she hit me first. She hit me once. So what? I used her as target practice. Ryan choked, opened his mouth, and mumbled. Still, you couldn't hit her like this. Ava quickly stepped in to smooth things over. Ryan, I'm fine. We were just having a snowball fight. It doesn't hurt at all. My clothes just look dirty. Don't worry. Ryan had killed the mood. I tossed the snowball aside, clapped my hands clean, and huffed. Then I walked to Chloe. Mom, let's keep walking. Chloe smiled and nodded, then looked at Ryan and Preston. Since we've run into you, come with us. New Year crowds can get messy. Though she worried the 2 boys might clash, her gaze landed on Ryan. She had once helped a master, and he had promised her a favor. She had never planned to cash it in, but now she had no choice. She had to save her eldest grandson. Chloe's group toured the temple, then left without incident. The couple finally relaxed. After 2 days in the capital, we left for Baybridge. Mr. Hayes got busy with my schooling. After thinking it over, the couple decided to send me to Ryan's school. Our relationship was only so, but at least we'd be at the same school. If we were in the same class, we could somewhat look out for each other. But when they thought of that, they had no confidence. With Ethan's personality, expecting him and Ryan to look after each other was impossible. Still, they chose it in the end, holding on to a little hope that maybe it wouldn't be that bad. During winter break, I kept taking catch-up lessons. The Hayes sisters tutored me, and they hired teachers to come to the house too. First, no one knew what I had actually learned before, but soon they understood completely. Though I'd never had formal schooling, the Taoist nun who raised me had taught me a lot. And I picked things up fast, learning very quickly. Mr. Hayes and Chloe were thrilled and deeply relieved. Good thing the Taoist nun was educated and taught Ethan so much. Otherwise, he might have been practically illiterate. Soon, school started. That day, Mr. Hayes went in late and drove his son to school himself. Also in the car were worried Chloe and Ava, representing the 4 sisters. Chloe kept reminding me nonstop. I didn't look impatient. Ava was the one getting sick of it. Mom, that's enough. He's just going to school. You act like he's doing something dangerous. Ava rolled her eyes. And he's not even boarding. He comes home every day. What could happen? Chloe glared hard at her. If you don't get it, keep your mouth shut. That school just had an incident. If Ryan hadn't already been studying there, and if it weren't his final semester, I'd never let Ethan go there. Thinking of that accident, Chloe felt uneasy. After all, Ryan had been involved too. She wanted to say something, but seeing silent Ryan beside her, she swallowed it. Forget it. She believed he knew how wrong he had been. He wouldn't do anything stupid again. If she kept bringing it up, he'd get sensitive and overthink it again. Mom, don't worry. I won't let anyone bully me. I knew what she was worried about. Even setting aside that I was a Hayes heir, even if I were ordinary, anyone who bullied me would pay back 100-fold. Bullies only pick on the weak. If you're scarier than they are, they'll fear you instead. Mr. Hayes and Chloe drove me to the gate, but couldn't go inside. The school didn't allow parents in, only drop-offs and pickups at the gate. Watching Ryan and me walk in, Chloe still worried. Mr. Hayes put an arm around her and comforted her. Don't worry. Ethan is smart. He'll be fine. And he isn't the type to get pushed around. Chloe glanced at him and didn't bother explaining. His personality was exactly why she worried. What if he got into a fight? I entered the school, curiosity plain in my eyes, and looked around carefully. Kids these days are so lucky. Boys can study together too. It only costs a little money. Such a bright, spacious place, with such flat, clean floors. No fear of summer heat or winter cold. Unlike kids in the past, only upper-class children had decent classrooms. For common kids, studying was brutally hard. Why would I think that? Had I once seen something like this? I wondered briefly, but found no matching memory. So I figured I'd heard some ghost mention it. Ryan noticed my amazed eyes and the way I looked around. He felt deep contempt and lowered his eyes to hide it. Ethan, do you know how to get to your classroom? Want me to take you? Ryan asked in front of the school building. I gave him a cold glance. No. Ryan smiled faintly. Then go on your own. Your class is upstairs. It's easy to find. If not, ask a teacher. Ryan was glad I came back right before winter break. It had spared him everyone's strange looks. At that thought, Ryan exhaled. He turned one way while I went the other. I stood at Class F's back door, looked up, and confirmed I had the right room. Then I fell silent. No wonder Dad, when he heard I wanted Class F, had looked so complicated. You're the new student, right? Ethan Hayes? Class F's homeroom teacher hurried over. Seeing a boy at the back door, he paused and remembered. I spun around. I studied him closely and confirmed who he was. Then I bowed properly. Hello, sir. The teacher froze. This formal? He even bowed to me. Ethan, I'm your homeroom teacher. My last name is Brooks. Everyone calls me Big Brooks. You can too. If you run into trouble, come to me. I shook my head gently. Then I said very seriously, you're a teacher. You deserve respect. How could I call you Big Brooks? Respecting teachers is basic manners. Big Brooks suddenly felt moved. In all his years teaching, this was the first time a student moved him, but it passed fast. Big Brooks quickly returned to normal. Class is starting. Come in with me. Big Brooks strode into the room. The students ignored him and kept doing their own thing, noisy as ever. Big Brooks was clearly used to it. Everyone quiet down. Class is starting. First, meet your new classmate. Big Brooks shouted at the top of his lungs. The noise paused. Everyone looked over and sized me up at the podium. Whoa, a transfer student now. That's a surprise. He's cute. No, he's seriously handsome. Hearing the chatter below, Big Brooks looked embarrassed. He coughed and said gently, Ethan, introduce yourself first. I nodded calmly. I looked at everyone below. I'm Ethan Hayes. That's it. Ethan? I gave him a baffled look. What else was I supposed to say? Self-intros were easy. After the intro, it was time to assign my seat. Big Brooks was still deciding where to put me when I scanned the room myself. I walked straight to one spot and sat down. Big Brooks and the class gaped, completely shocked. Beyond shock, the students seemed eager for drama. Who said you could sit here? I turned to the girl beside me. Can't I sit here? No. I don't sit with other people, Harper Sloan said darkly. If he weren't a boy, she'd have kicked him already. Who gave him the nerve to sit beside her? I looked away and said flatly, oh, then you can move. Harper and the class froze. When she snapped out of it, she laughed in anger and pointed at herself. Do you know who I am? No. She never introduced herself. How would I know who she was? You don't even know who I am, and you dare talk like that? Don't think I won't hit you because you're a boy. I finally gave her a look. You want to hit me? Leave now or I'll beat you up. I thought it over, then said seriously. Then let's fight. If I win, you listen to me from now on. If I lose, I'll listen to you. Deal? The classroom went silent. Then everyone burst out laughing. Oh man, I'm dying. He wants to fight Harper Sloan? Does he not know how tough Harper is? Harper, teach him a lesson. Harper Sloan scoffed. I don't fight boys. I could take him with one finger. I smiled faintly. Sounds like you're scared to fight me. You're scared you'll lose. Harper sprang up like a cat with its tail stepped on. She shot up from her seat. Me lose? What a joke. Fine. Since you don't know your place, I'll give you what you want. She had been ready to let the seat thing slide because he was cute. But apparently, I had pushed my luck. Her eyes were full of disgust. She clearly lumped me in with every boy who tried to get close. Then it settled. I calmly laid out my books and sat perfectly straight. I was clearly ready for class. Ryan, why isn't your brother with you? Wouldn't your parents let him be in your class? Once Ryan sat down in his classroom, his usual friends immediately leaned in to ask. Ryan pressed his lips together and answered, Ethan went to Class F. Class F? So his grades are terrible? Didn't you say your parents dote on him? Why send him to Class F? Class F is for coasting. They're all planning to study abroad after exams. Most are younger kids or unfavored ones who won't inherit anything. They just collect money and coast. No one cares about grades. No one cares as long as they don't cause trouble at school. Everything else gets ignored. If the Hayes family put him in Class F, they must not love him that much. Exactly. He's their real son, sure, but he spent over 10 years outside. Who knows what he's like? How can he compare to carefully raised Ryan? Looks like Ryan is still the Hayes young master. Ryan hesitated. Ethan just didn't test well. What he left out was that Mr. Hayes had wanted to use connections to put me in Class A, but I flatly refused. Mr. Hayes was a total doting dad, so of course he didn't force his son. That's how I ended up in Class F. Ryan's friend curled his lip. He could only get into Class F? That's pretty pathetic. Ryan is Class A's top student. Ryan is number 1 in Class A. That's a huge gap. Ryan kept explaining Ethan didn't want this either. He used to live in a Taoist temple and never went to a real school. Getting into Class F is already pretty good. If he studies hard, he can still move to another class. It's already the final semester. Move where? After the entrance exams, he'll be changing schools anyway. Did you say he lived in a Taoist temple? Seriously? Hearing that juicy bit, more classmates crowded over to gossip. There's nothing to say. Class is starting. Go back to your seats. Ryan nudged the classmates around him, urging them back to their seats. But the less he explained, the more curious everyone got. So they could only guess on their own. Ryan sat down, lowered his eyes, and opened his book. He looked quiet and well-behaved as always. But he suddenly turned toward a seat where a familiar person should have been. But now that seat was empty. The person who used to sit there was gone. Thinking of Dylan, his eyes darkened. His gaze swept somewhere by accident, then snapped back like he'd been pricked. He didn't dare look again. That was Lily Bennett's seat. After the incident, everything changed. Usually, the classes kept to themselves. They disliked each other, but didn't interfere. Class F sat at the bottom of the pecking order. The higher classes wanted nothing to do with them. But today was different. After class, a classes student who had just stepped out ran back in. He shouted excitedly, "Big news! Big news! Class F is about to fight. Are you serious? Class F fighting isn't news. It'd be news if they didn't fight." No. The student stomped in frustration. He gave Ryan a meaningful look, leaving Ryan confused. The classmate played mysterious. Guess who's fighting Harper Sloan? His eyes landed on Ryan again. The hint was obvious. No one around them could miss it. Ryan's face nearly froze. Everyone looked at one another. A close friend asked, "You mean Ryan's brother is fighting Harper Sloan?" "No way. Harper Sloan isn't just known to seniors. The whole school knows who she is. She's been famous since middle school, just not in a good way." "That's right, it's Ethan Hayes. Someone from Class F said it themselves. And they said Ethan started it. They said they'll meet in the woods after school." The classmate grinned at Ryan. "Ryan, your brother is really something. He actually dared to challenge Harper Sloan. Has he trained before? He must be really good, right?" Once Ryan realized it wasn't a joke, he shot to his feet and headed out. He was furious and anxious. Was Ethan insane? He'd mess with anyone? Did he think school was the Hayes home? Did he think everyone would indulge him and let him run wild? He stormed toward Class F to find Ethan. Halfway there, he stopped and bit his lip hard. He clenched his fists, his eyes flickering. If he stopped Ethan, great. It would keep trouble from starting and keep his parents from blaming him. But if he didn't stop him, and Ethan really fought Harper Sloan, trouble would follow no matter what. He hadn't dealt with Harper much, but he'd heard plenty about her. He knew the Sloan family was no ordinary family. If Ethan messed with her, Ryan gritted his teeth and turned back. Forget it. He'd stay out of it. Even if he tried, Ethan wouldn't listen and might say something nasty, dragging him into the embarrassment too. They said the fight was after school. He could talk him down then. If Ethan still refused, he'd call Grace. Mom and Dad couldn't blame him then. Class F buzzed all morning. Big Brooks had heard our exchange, but he didn't take it seriously. After class, he told Harper not to argue with a boy. It would be beneath her. Then he left. He knew Harper Sloan somewhat, and thought she wouldn't take it out on a new kid. But he didn't expect me to be trouble too. So the moment school let out, Class F marched in a crowd toward the woods behind campus. I glanced at the classmates following us, then looked at Harper. I wondered if I should warn her, to send everyone else away first, or this would get embarrassing. Saving face is human nature. This happened all the time in Greyhaven. Losers would cry to me for justice. How was I supposed to judge that? If you're outmatched, take the loss. Later, no one bothered me over petty stuff. I had endless work to run for my sister. I had no time for trifles. Harper felt my look was off, but she had no proof. How do you want to fight? Before we start, if you sincerely apologize, I'll let it go. I'll be generous and drop it. Harper said it arrogantly. Fighting a boy was embarrassing. Even winning would get her laughed at. But she couldn't just drop it. What about her pride? So he had to apologize. Fight however you're best at. Cut the crap and start. I still need to get home early. The Hayes driver is probably here. Harper laughed from anger. Fine. If he wanted a beating, she didn't need to hold back. She tried being gracious for once. But I didn't take it. Ryan left as soon as class ended. Everyone thought he was going to stop it. He did go to the woods. But after one distant look, he turned and headed straight for the gate. At the school gate, he soon saw the Hayes car. The person getting out of the driver's seat was Grace Hayes. His eyes lit up and he rushed over. Grace, perfect timing. Ethan is going to fight someone. Hurry, stop him. Grace was completely stunned. She thought she'd heard wrong. A fight? You said Ethan is fighting someone? Ryan looked anxious. I don't know how, but right after he got to school, he clashed with the class troublemaker. They agreed to fight in the woods after school. Couldn't talk him down. Grace, hurry. What if he gets beaten? Grace panicked too. She had no time to ask more and headed into school. The guard tried to stop her, but she stated who she was, and said a child in her family was in trouble. The guard didn't dare stop her and let her in. Ryan anxiously led Grace toward the woods. His act was flawless, though anticipation flickered in his eyes. Grace was too worried about her brother to notice. They rushed to the woods, but the scene stunned them both. Then they fell silent, especially Grace. She was starting to question reality. She had expected to see her brother getting bullied. How did you get on campus? It's getting late. Let's go home. Grace finally came back to herself. By then, I was already several yards away, so she hurried after me. Only after we got back to the car did she finally recover her senses and voice. Her eyes were complicated. As she looked at me, speechless, I looked at her and said honestly, "Oh, I just had a fight. I won. No need to tell Mom and Dad about this little thing. They'll worry. What do you think?" She felt this was wrong. How could he fight someone? And why did he win? Have you trained? Other than that, she couldn't think of any reason. Of course I had trained. And I was pretty good too. In Grey Haven, only my sister outranks me. Grace looked at me and fell silent. Just then, Ryan finally caught up. He opened the door, got in the back, and panted a little. Before he could catch his breath, I hit him with one line. I don't want Mom and Dad knowing about today. They'll worry. What do you think? Ryan met my cold eyes and nearly choked. He instinctively glanced at Grace, but she was still in shock, and didn't notice his look at all. Ryan could only lower his eyes, hurt and resentful. I know. I won't tell Mom and Dad. On the way, Grace couldn't help asking, Ethan, you never said you trained. You never asked, I answered, perfectly justified. Grace choked. Then guilt rose in her. Since Ethan came home, she hadn't cared enough. She'd never really asked about him. She had even worried Ryan would be hurt, and that Ethan, raised outside, might be wild, with no tact and no idea how to care for family. She feared he'd throw the family into chaos. But he was her real brother, her own flesh and blood. All she knew was that he grew up in a temple. She'd never cared how he grew up or what kind of life he lived, or how he spent those months alone after the Taoist nun died. Had something bad happen, so he learned self-defense? Once we got home, Chloe immediately asked about my school day. She asked in detail and my answers were flawless. She never imagined her sweet son had fought. Hearing it went well, she relaxed. Ryan wanted to expose it, but he didn't dare take the risk. In the end, he told himself to forget it. Ethan probably wouldn't be punished anyway. He'd only make himself look bad. Why bother? That made him feel better. We may have guests soon, Chloe. Make some arrangements. At dinner, Mr. Hayes remembered and brought it up. Chloe was surprised. Guests? Why hadn't she heard about this? Mr. Hayes's brow furrowed slightly, as if confused. It's old Mrs. Hawthorne from the Capitol. What? Old Mrs. Hawthorne? Now Chloe was truly shocked. They'd never had any dealings. Why would the old lady come stay with us? Mr. Hayes thought, then answered, It's not exactly a visit. She's coming to Baybridge on business. She doesn't want a hotel, and the Hawthorns don't own a place here. Margaret found out and asked us to host her. Why would she do that? She didn't even ask us first. No need to guess what she's after. The Hawthorns weren't top tier in the capital, at least not by ranking. But that didn't hurt their status or influence. They weren't political or commercial. They relied on divination, fate reading, and changing fortunes. Legend said their ancestor foresaw a national disaster and changed the fate of the whole nation, giving rise to today's empire. That ancestor died violently for revealing heaven's secrets. Though it secured the Hawthorns' place and brought their prestige to a peak, every gift has a price. Changing a nation's fate wasn't something one life could repay. From then on, the Hawthorne line dwindled. A huge clan was reduced to 2 branches. Only 3 descendants remained, 2 men and 1 woman. The main line had just 1. Worse, that treasured mainline heir had some accident years ago. They said he became vegetative and could die at any time. As the bloodline thinned, their gifts declined too. The heir supposedly didn't even know the Book of Changes. A great family falling this far was truly sad. Still, no one dared look down on the Hawthorns. They had protection from the very top. The bedridden heir grew up in the head of state's residence, loved by the nation's ruler like a son. To cure him, that ruler spared no effort and promised a favor to whoever succeeded. So even in decline, the Hawthorns were still far beyond most people. Besides, a fallen giant still had weight. Aunt Margaret wanted benefits, but what did that have to do with their family? The matriarch was elderly. If anything happened, who could afford that responsibility? If they hosted well, Aunt Margaret gained. They got nothing in Baybridge. It was all work and no reward. One look at Chloe's face, and Mr. Hayes knew what she was thinking. He didn't want to get involved either. He'd made his stance clear by leaving the capital after the split. He had no grand ambitions. He worked hard so his wife and kids could live well, have money, and be happy. If his wife wanted facials, overseas trips, or fashion shows, fine. For his children, he'd provide the best education. But a father couldn't manage them forever. If they lacked ability later, they'd live ordinary lives. He wouldn't slave away for them. As for Ethan, his son, he had to care for him for life. He'd suffered too much early on. The rest of his life had to make up for it. He figured connecting with the Hawthorns was good. Build a solid relationship, and it might help Ethan find a good match later. But he couldn't say that in front of the kids. Don't overthink it. Even if we say yes, she may not come. If we really host her, that's good too. More connections never hurt. Chloe could only nod. Once the capital side had the idea, if they refused, Aunt Margaret would probably drag old Mrs. Hayes into it. The Hayes kids looked interested, only I didn't even lift my eyes. I focused on dinner like it was the finest meal in the world. Seeing that, Mr. Hayes grew worried. Ethan had been raised too innocent. Was that good or bad? If he couldn't find someone sincere someday, marrying into money might get him eaten alive. With an ordinary spouse, Dad couldn't bear seeing him struggle. He wanted Chloe to teach him more. Society was complicated. Too innocent wasn't good. While Mr. Hayes's mind ran wild, I had already swallowed my last bite. I finished dinner satisfied, looked up, and met Dad's complicated stare. I paused, wondering if I'd eaten too much, and made him worry I was overstuffed. He wasn't afraid I'd eat us broke, right? I had no idea he was worrying about my marriage. The second I stepped into Class F, the noisy room went mute, and everyone shut up. They seemed busy with their own things, but kept sneaking looks at me. Their eyes were weird. I walked straight to my seat and sat down. Beside me, Harper Sloane had a dark face. Hey, why aren't you talking? She'd been waiting for me to humiliate her, but nothing happened. I took out my textbook and started reading. Only then did she speak up. So what now? Say something. I gave her an odd look. Harper slapped the desk and stood, glaring at me. You're messing with me? The class went eerily quiet. Everyone around us had cleared space. I blinked innocently. Oh, you mean yesterday's fight? Didn't you lose? I'm your boss now, and you dare talk to me like that? I frowned deeply, feeling I needed to establish authority. I left my seat, walked to the podium, and swept my gaze over the class. My gaze was cold and full of pressure. From now on, I'm Class F's boss. If you're unhappy, challenge me. From now on, you listen to me. Clear? Though I'd beaten Harper, Class F didn't submit. A new transfer student, and a guy at that, had what right to be boss? Even if Harper lost, there were still others. Make them listen to some weak boy? Don't think beating Harper proves anything. Who knows if it was luck? Or some dirty trick? New guy, don't get too cocky. Exactly. We only follow Harper. I arched a brow. I raised a brow. You follow Harper and Harper follows me. Isn't that the same thing? Was Ethan Hayes insane? I didn't waste words on the others and looked at Harper. Do you accept yesterday's result or not? If not, I can't do anything to you. After all, shameless people are invincible. Of course I have no answer for that. What kind of fake innocent crap was that? She laughed from anger. She glared at me, grinding out 2 words. I accept. Revenge could wait. She was sure yesterday was a fluke. I must have used tricks to win. She hadn't even seen me move. Before she hit the floor, she'd been in plenty of real fights. So how could she fail to last one move? Impossible. I gave her a disgusted look. You think I want to be boss? I don't want to be boss at all. You think it's easy? At worst, you're a nanny. An unpaid one. I worked myself to death in Greyhaven. I don't want that here too. But for merit, what can I do? Class F was an accident. I had agreed to Class A, but something felt off in the hall. Two wisps of aura hovered there. One black, one purple, tangled together. The purple one was weaker and would soon be crushed by the black. Purple aura means noble fortune. Black malice with it means trouble. That got me interested. Clear the malice, help the noble one earn merit. When I learned Class F was below it, I knew that person was there. So I had to check it out. That's why I joined Class F. Harper Sloane was that lucky, unlucky one. Harper frowned at me. The Hawthorns really are coming. At dinner, it came up again. It wasn't a discussion. It was notice. The Hawthorns were coming. Nora and Claire felt the elders had it handled. So they didn't worry much. They took it lightly. Ryan lowered his eyes, his mind racing. Only I tuned it all out and focused on eating. Chloe felt conflicted. He was so simple. How would he manage? He didn't care about something this big. His heart was huge. Ethan, what do you think? Chloe suddenly asked. Mid-bite, I froze. I blinked and saw everyone looking at me. They were waiting for my opinion, so I had to set down my chopsticks. I swallowed and thought it over. Since they're coming, we should host them well. Just treat them like normal guests. Ryan couldn't help arguing. They're Hawthorns. How can we treat them like normal guests? If they wanted VIP treatment, plenty of people could do that. A hotel could too. But they didn't. They chose our home. Why? They don't want to be worshipped. Not everyone does. Mr. Hayes furrowed his brow, then soon relaxed and smiled. Ethan has a point. The Hawthorns don't put on airs. Since they're coming here, proper courtesy should be enough. Going overboard would look like sucking up. Chloe understood too. Ethan is right. The old lady keeps a low profile. People in the capital rarely see her. She doesn't like attention. Treat her like a normal guest. Otherwise, what nice place couldn't she find? Mr. Hayes thought for a moment. All right, let's do that. He found it strange too. Why visit a family she barely knew? Why the Hayes home? He'd asked Margaret and got scolded. She said anyone else would grab such a chance and use it well. Yet he wanted to push it away. Why dig into it? What could the Hawthorns want? They'd refuse even if offered the whole business. He hung up on the spot. The Hawthorns couldn't be after the Hayes family. Since they're coming, accept it. Just don't offend them. He didn't care about benefits. Margaret could chase those herself. Hosting was settled. Seeing them agree, Ryan didn't know what to say. Wasn't this absurd? They were letting Ethan make a joke of them. They were gambling with their future and reputation. He wanted to speak up, but swallowed it. Fine. Once the Hawthorns moved in, he'd figure something out. He decided to look out for himself. I didn't care about the guest. The old lady wouldn't get in my way. I didn't need to host her. Better to think about winning over Harper. In a blink, I'd been in school over 2 weeks. I adjusted well. Kids today were so lucky. Boys could go to school too. If they were able, they could keep studying. That was wonderful. I must never have had that before. Class F watched me crown myself boss. Behave in class and seriously review and do homework after. I looked like a model student. We're Class F, not Class A. Harper, are we just letting this happen? He's turning us into Class A. Tessa Lane cried in despair. Ethan was getting worse. Fine, be a good student himself. But he's forcing us to be one too. No fighting in class, no skipping, no missing homework. Worst of all, he does pop quizzes. If you can't answer, you get punished. He won't stop until you get it. Is he a student or the homeroom teacher? Even Big Brooks isn't this devoted. Is he sick? Harper's mouth twitched at the thought. He first provoked her and beat her, then crushed Class F's pushback. She thought he'd do something huge. Was he actually some savior type? Harper was irritated too. She couldn't beat him, so what could she do? Thinking of that weird fight, she refused to accept losing to a boy. She wanted her status back, but feared losing again. She needed a sure win. Ethan Hayes was not simple. Put this aside for now. I need to go back to the capital. We'll talk when I'm back. Harper frowned and said it irritably, her temper showing. Tessa hissed silently and didn't dare speak. Anyone who knew Harper knew she hated the capital. Every time she went back, she came home gloomy, depressed, and violent. No one dared poke the bear. Mackenzie Reed patted Harper's shoulder. If something's wrong, say it. Don't carry it alone. Tessa quickly agreed. Harper, we're sisters. Harper snorted. She side-eyed them. I'm going back to the capital, not into a war zone. What's to fear? The two exchanged a look and said nothing. They feared what happened 2 years ago. Back then, they brushed it off. Then she came back half dead. She was covered in wounds. Under her clothes, nothing was untouched. All red, swollen, and purple. Her veins looked ready to burst, and she shook at the lightest touch. Took over a month to heal. Once she did, she went back to normal. Like nothing had happened. But when they tested the topic, she got strange. Her cold stare was creepy. They didn't dare ask more, and it stuck with them. Knowing they cared, Harper smiled, warmth in her eyes. Enough. Stop getting sappy. I can protect myself. I'm not a kid. I'll fight back. On the third day, I noticed Harper was gone. I thought she was late, but she was absent. I waved Tessa over. The gesture was like calling a puppy. Tessa wanted to ignore me. Then a chill wrapped around her, making her shiver. She looked over by reflex and saw me staring at her with a smile. There was coldness in my eyes. She shivered and decided coming over was safer. Otherwise, the consequences definitely wouldn't be something she wanted. What? She snapped, still defiant. Where's Harper? Tessa wanted to snap back, but met my dark eyes and didn't dare. She didn't dare. Harper took leave. She's not coming. I rested my chin in my hand. Took leave? That's not good. Her luck was bad, with signs of disaster. Could hurt her body and shake her soul. The dark aura was pressing down the purple one. Not good. Where did she go on leave? What was she doing? Tessa blew up at the interrogation. What is this, a criminal questioning? Even if you crowned yourself Class F's boss, you can't treat us like criminals. I gave Tessa a baffled look. She was really something. On the third day, I took leave. The Hayes family had decided to treat the guests normally. Still, appearances mattered. Mr. Hayes waved a hand and mobilized the whole family. We all took the day off to welcome them. I didn't mind. I had no idea Class F was in chaos. The guys who mocked me yesterday, Parker Price and the others, had shrugged it off and ignored my warning. He went to class, went home, and slept early, in a good mood. Then the unexpected happened. He woke up, needed something, and called for help. No sound came out. Thinking he wasn't fully awake, he tried yelling. His face changed. Still no sound. Like in a dream, he touched his throat and opened his mouth. He screamed silently and ran out. The Price home fell into chaos. No one connected it to yesterday. They thought he was sick, but the hospital found nothing. His vocal cords were fine. He just couldn't speak. The doctor called it psychological. His life had been smooth lately with no incidents. They told him to rest at home and adjust. It might clear up in a few hours. Once Class F heard, it erupted. Parker and his buddies were in trouble. Someone lowered their voice mysteriously. Tessa caught it and asked what happened. A classmate sat beside her, eager to gossip. Tessa, my place is near the Prices. Our maid heard it while walking the dog. Parker Price woke up mute. Everyone doubted it. No way. How does someone just go mute? He was fine on voice chat last night. It's true. The maids were gossiping. The hospital found nothing. They said it was psychological. And a few of his close buddies all took leave today too. Everyone went quiet and looked at each other, unsure what to believe. It sounded absurd, so most didn't think of yesterday. Only Tessa and Mackenzie's heart sank. They remembered what I said yesterday. 3 days without speaking. Tessa got goosebumps. It felt cold, eerie, and way too creepy. Mackenzie, is this about Ethan? How could anyone not suspect him? He said it yesterday, and today it happened. It's exactly the punishment. That's way too much of a coincidence. Mackenzie frowned. Mackenzie took a deep breath. Coincidence or not, let's not mess with him anymore. He's seriously unreadable. If he really did it, our fate could be worse. Tessa nodded hard. She thought the same. From that day on, the class mood changed. No one dared yell or roughhouse. They all obediently listened to me and studied. I watched satisfied. As long as they stopped causing trouble, I wouldn't bother using tricks on them. The next days were peaceful, but online outrage kept growing. Lily Bennett's parents produced evidence and handed it to the police. Police opened an investigation, and the truth behind the mall incident came out. Dylan Whitmore and the students involved were all given major demerits and forced out. The truth could no longer be buried. Ryan couldn't sit still at home. He spent every day terrified and dazed as the Hayes family watched the reports. Learning Dylan was tied to a death left them shocked and chilled. Chloe looked at Ryan and asked, Ryan, tell me the truth. Were you involved in what Dylan did? Ryan went white as paper. He dropped to his knees. Mom, I really didn't hurt anyone. I only watched. I didn't dare stop them. I really know I was wrong. Mr. Hayes and the sisters heard this, and their eyes filled with disappointment. He hadn't pushed anyone himself, but standing by, enabling it, and covering it up were unforgivable too. Mr. Hayes made the call coldly. The Hayes family can't keep someone like you. I'll give you living expenses. Move out and live on your own. From now on, make better choices. Ryan cried and begged everyone, but this time, no one softened or took his side. Even Ava turned away. She might not be the brightest, but she knew right from wrong. Ryan was finally sent away from the Hayes home. Those families' businesses were boycotted, one after another going bankrupt or facing closure. This was true payback. Lily Bennett looked at me in my room, her eyes free of resentment. Thank you for getting justice for me. seeing them punished like they deserved. I can finally leave in peace. I smiled and nodded. Go. Reincarnate. Your next life will be safe and smooth. She dissolved into sparks of starlight, and pure merit flowed into me. I felt my power fill out. Life returned to its old calm. I became Class F's backbone and led the whole class to turn things around. Harper dropped the tough girl act and got into a decent college. At the Hayes home, I enjoyed family love. Mom, Dad, and my sisters spoiled me. I was still sharp-tongued and loved roasting people, but they knew I was kind deep down. So they put up with my little temper. Life in the mortal world was pretty nice. As for being Greyhaven's young lord, once I finish this life here, I'll go back and take over those duties.